All right. What's up, everybody? I hope we're doing well. How's my audio? Is it too loud now? Because I feel like it's hitting the red really easily.
Sounds good on my end.
So, like, if I talk like this, is it coming through clean on the stream, specifically?
I believe so. Let me just double check. I'll turn the Discord
Okay.
off.
I just want to make sure it's not clipping or anything. Because it's going into the red. Does it sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Perfect. Thank you. Hey, everybody.
Howdy. Howdy.
Tonight, we've got a really great show. Wait, I wonder if they have that. Wait, can I just get the... without the first part? Nope. I just want the part. Because I want to keep that. I want to put that around for like when someone debates someone and they're saying really stupid shit. Okay, that's close.
Okay, boom.
Ow. I guess I could turn it into like a... I could download it and just edit it, but... Why wouldn't somebody just do that part? It feels like an obvious thing to turn into a soundbite.
Hey,
But okay.
you get to be the one.
Okay.
You're gonna change streaming?
Whatever.
Destiny.
Alex Jones, the InfoWars founder,
Oh my
the
God.
conspiracy theorist, the
Alex Jones
previous
took
big
his shirt
supporter
off.
of Trump, who now is very mad at him, is losing his company.
Drop a peanut.
Now, you've probably heard me say that many times, because you have, because
that
Alex
for me?
Jones keeps making this announcement, but there's a legal battle.
girl.
Now, we don't need to get into all the specifics of it. The quick and simple is, as legal things go,
She said she was
there's
a good
tons
girl.
of chances for Alex Jones to appeal, so this keeps getting delayed. But each time there's an opportunity for Alex to say his company's about to tomorrow be taken away, he takes it. And in this case, literally takes his clothes off to make that point. We saw the famous him crying and then the war cry, ah! And then months later, you can go ahead and play it. Let's see. So that was one of the times, and then he was able to prevent his studio from being taken away.
That's real.
And this all goes back to him losing a massive defamation trial brought by the Sandy Hook parents for his defamation against them in relation to the Sandy Hook shooting. And so whenever you lose that big of a judgment, then one of the ways that you can pay is your very valuable company gets sold to someone else, and then that money is given to the people you lost the case to. So when InfoWars, the website founded by the right-wing conspiracy theorist Alex Jones, came up for sale 2 years ago, an unlikely suitor stepped up. The Onion decided, you know what, we'll buy it and we'll turn it into a satirical version of itself, which it kind of already is, so it'd be like a satirical version of a satirical thing. That sale was scuttled by a bankruptcy court. Now the Onion has reemerged with a new plan. So point is, the Onion's continuing to pursue buying InfoWars so that they can turn it into the Onion is a satirical outlet. Satirical version
I really thought
of
that had
itself.
fallen through. That's crazy.
And that would just mean Alex Jones loses his technical company, but then he would just keep doing his stuff on other platforms. But Let's look at his reaction to this news, because it was insane. I saw you grabbed your mic. Do you have anything to say before we get into it?
Well, I was just looking when he pulled it up. I just saw him shirtless, which again, shocking. But then I was also just thinking while you're talking, I feel like if the Onion got InfoWars, the best thing they could do is turn it into a real news outlet, and that would be the irony.
True. That's a good point. Turning it into a satirical version of itself would just be too close to what it was. It should become an actual credible news outlet.
Yes.
That would be the satire. All right, so let's see.
So that's a sad thing to see. Are you an employee of the Onion now, Alex?
No, we laugh about this. A year and a half ago, they announced they now owned us.
What up, neighbor?
Quickies pause to request that you click the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. It's completely free, and it's the simplest way to support the work that we do right below the video. Click that subscribe button, and then also, whatever you're thinking or some random statement, drop it in the comments. That helps algorithmically, and click the like button. Back to the video.
And it was all fraud. This time they haven't had a hearing, and they're announcing they owned us.
fraud.
Which shows with this judge that's been super corrupt, the state judge, it's already a done deal. But don't worry, we got a bunch of legal avenues. It'd be one thing if they just shut us down, but they are telling the New York Times and obviously.
Oh no. Oh no.
What you mean?
And that other one just resigned too. At least we won the redistricting in Virginia.
I got a good one for you, neighbor.
Yeah. Bro. Can we stop holding our people accountable for 2 fucking seconds? Jesus Christ. Oh. Listen. I do not know the name of every single representative in Congress. I apologize, neighbor.
How dare you?
Wow. Well, I mean, at least this is a district where it'll definitely be another Democrat.
They're going to misrepresent, if you played the trailer,
Yeah.
they're going to misrepresent that they're us to confuse people and, quote, rip people off like Alex Jones did. They're going to make money. The whole thing's about defaming me. You can't take something over and then act like you're somebody, even if you say it's a parody. You can do a parody of somebody, but none of you took something from them.
Right.
So podcast listeners, just picture Alex Jones. You know what he looks like, right? But now picture him with his shirt off. Okay? You're welcome. Now just picture it. You're welcome. By the way, Spotify listeners are able to watch, if they want, the video. It's pretty cool. You can listen to the podcast, but then literally the video's there. It's like, what? That's so cool. I just watched it. Very high quality. Very nice. So you could look at this video if you're watching on Spotify.
We've already checked with lawyers, so they're in deep shit. I'm already suing the Democrat Party law firms. Already got civil rights lawsuits. So you think, look, just because you're wearing my shirt, don't mean you're me. So let's be 100% clear about that. And so you guys just keep laughing, just like you did a year and a half ago, or it was November 2024.
Sure.
Was that about a year and a half?
I will happily
this is a
keep
story
laughing,
from December
bro.
10th. Sale of Alex Jones InfoWars to the Onion rejected, and I'll get into this.
Yeah,
So
Alex.
just, but yeah, they need to.
So there's a legal battle over is the point. I don't really care about following each detail. We'll see how it turns out. And obviously through some mechanism, you need to get the damages owed to the Sandy Hook families. I care about that. But keeping up with every little appeal is not something I've done. Mainly we're looking at his reaction to the news that maybe progress has been made on the Onion taking over or something like that. And so then he's ripping his shirt off. Is this like a message on you can take the shirt off my back, but you can't take my nipples? Very famous, very famous quote, you know? I think JFK said that. And I do have to say, I hate to be this guy because obviously the project of Alex Jones has been so detrimental over so many years, but he looks good. No, let me be honest. We've seen him work a lot on reducing his weight, and you see this photo on his desk right now of him like a year plus ago. He's dropped a lot of weight and shirtless. He looks better than I would have expected. I'm just saying, Cole, he looks right, does he? I don't know. You don't have to agree with me. I'm saying better than you would have expected.
He's got old-timey strongman body.
He does.
Yeah, he has.
He does.
There's this guy
That's
in the
such
gym
a
I used to
perfect
go to
explanation.
Who would come in,
He has
it seemed
old-timey
like all
strongman
he did
buddy.
was maxes, right? So no actual
geez,
workouts
neighbor.
over an hour where you do this and then this and then this and multiple reps. Just he would come in, he would shout, his friends would slap him on the back to get all hyped. He would sniff stuff to get all amped up, and then he would go on a bunch of weight and just do a max, and then he would stand up in a public gym and be like, yes,
true.
oh, F you, that's right, I did it. And you'd be like, oh my gosh, and he'd rip his shirt off, and then he would walk out, and there was a McDonald's near or McDonald's or Chick-fil-A, something like that, near the gym. He would leave, he would get a snow cone, it must have been McDonald's, and then he would come back in the gym and just pace around screaming about how happy he was to max what he maxed on bench press as he's eating an ice cream cone. That's the body Alex Jones has, right? The exact same body as that archetype.
BS to confuse people. By the way, it's a total failure. He goes, we're the 5th biggest newspapers. That's a lie. Newspapers are all dead. Okay?
They're not.
Okay?
The New York Times is like breaking records on their subscribers, just so you know. They've found a way to convert it to the digital age. This idea that all newspapers are dead is actually not true. Now, if you're talking about a newspaper that gets delivered and you're like, oh, what's in the sports section today? Yeah, that's dead. But newspaper outlets like the New York Times have actually scaled amazingly well and made record profits.
I looked it up. The Onion gets less than half of the traffic that InfoWars gets.
I remember they said they were going to beat Charlie Kirk. Remember when he died, they said we're going to misrepresent fake quotes of him. This is what the left do. They try to silence you, then they misrepresent who you are. They're body snatchers. They're skinwalkers. They literally take your skin. This is going to backfire big time, folks.
Wow, good to know.
Anyways, but
He said they literally take your skin. I try not to be one of those literally Nazis. You know what I mean? Wait, that sounds funny. I try not to be literally a Nazi. No, obviously. I nail that. I nail not being a Nazi. I mean, I try not to be obsessed with going, don't say literally unless it's actually literally, because I know we've turned into a society that's like, that was literally mind-blowing. And you're like, whatever, okay. And I literally don't even worry about it. But with him, when you're talking about skin, don't use that term. They're not literally taking your skin. Who would want your skin? I mean, that skin looks very damaged. Very red, damaged. And it doesn't feel like you probably have a skin regimen that's good.
But hey, you may try to take our skin, you may try to take our clothes, but we're still the real InfoWar. And everybody's going to understand that the InfoWar is
still the real InfoWar.
Everybody's an InfoWarrior. Don't let them convince you of this. It's going to blow up big time in their face.
Did you see the Ben Collins video where he says we're in an information war?
No.
Yeah, it's an old video where he was doing it at the National Press Club, and he says, we're in an information war right now, and the truth is hard to find. They've
Just sit down and grab a mic, Alex. Why are you standing up behind him in the shadows?
Yeah.
I look better. This
At least
lighting
until
back here
November.
makes my pecs pop.
lost the information war, and so they've resorted to lawfare.
And then taking on our skin.
Yeah.
Just because you got a man's coat don't mean you're them.
No, it's ridiculous. And again, yeah, they just do it.
forget.
They get away with it.
The Paul Weiss law firm.
Oh, he's sucking in. That's so cute. I get it. I totally get it. You see, I totally get it. We all do that. You've eaten a little too much that day. You have to go to the pool with your friends. So then you take your shirt off and you're sucking in a little bit. I totally get it. But it's hilarious. Watch him walk back and he's like... trying to. You didn't have to take your shirt off. You could have left it on and done this rant. I don't know why you're doing this.
No, it's ridiculous. And again, yeah, they just do it.
Forget.
They get away with it.
The Paul Weiss law firm ran all this. Trump settled with them. They settled, and now Trump's on their side.
Yep.
So, hey, feel good, guys. You're on Trump's side. You said it was so bad.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's exactly it. They are literally on.
Yeah, so I wonder how many times he comes back. Oh, no, he actually left. Good job. Good for him. So now he's kind of blaming Trump, that Trump is on their side and Trump has given them permission to go after him because of his Truth Social post saying Alex Jones should be bankrupt. And I'm just glad that obviously I would have preferred him not be shirtless. I love how he tried to wrench in the metaphor about them taking his clothes to justify him being shirtless. He was like, oh, and by the way, you know, they can take our clothes, but they can't take our identity. And you're like,
I
you're
know.
just forcing that in so that you have a reason to be shirtless, don't you?
Or on Monday, I think. Monday was, or they should have done it on Sunday, so Monday would have been better for everybody.
You made obsolete by our own creation.
Indeed.
Kayla, I will double your pay if you can tell me what Alex Jones says here.
Made obsolete by our own creation.
Indeed.
Go.
Very clearly, he said,
Dang it, you got it.
what?
So at least he wasn't as drunk as he was in that interview. And then here's him with a shirt on explaining what he feels is going on. Then we'll hear from the Onion CEO.
So it's Monday evening, and in the last few hours, I saw headlines everywhere, trending top of X, that, well, the Onion is to take over InfoWars again and make it a satirical website. They've won it. They own it. A year and a half ago, they announced they owned it. Remember, it was a fraud. There had been no bankruptcy auction. It was all a lie. This time, there's not even been a court hearing. But backed by Bloomberg and the Democrats, Ben Collins, the former MSNBC censorship czar, has just announced that they're moving in May 1st. And it's all through a Texas state judge that ran the show trial a few years ago against me. With HBO, fully produced show trial, that she's just saying it's yours even though it's still on appeal, and legally you can't do that. And I noticed the receiver that she appointed won't pay the electric bill, won't pay in the bills, even though he gets the money. There's plenty of money to pay the bills. So they're already like suffocating us. And you see the headline on X and everywhere else that, yep, it's theirs. So if there's any justice, they're going to get in big trouble for this. We're going to file a whole bunch of actions against it. It's just absolutely outrageous that in the year 2026 this type of crap goes on. But President Trump, through Todd Blanche, the Democrat Party lawyer, deputy head of the AG then, now the DOJ head, killed Ed Martin's investigation into their operations, their fake auctions, the DOJ funding the fake lawsuits against me. They have all the documents. They killed that 6 months ago. I didn't blame Trump for that. But I do now blame Trump for coming out and openly endorsing their lawsuits and saying I deserve it, when it was the very same law firms that sued him, Paul Weiss.
Okay. So again, I don't even, whatever. It's mumbo jumbo that I am not even going to try to decipher. I know he's speaking better here, but it is to me as coherent, and I'm as interested as following as
You were made obsolete by our own creation.
All creation I got at the end. It sounded like all creation. That'd be a fun game. If anyone can figure it out, you'll get a free membership. I don't know. I don't know what we can give you. But then here is the Onion CEO, Ben Collins, explaining his side of this story.
Can you describe what it's like to face Alex Jones with the gloves off? Oh, it sucks, brother. It's not good. Right. They had made a bunch of threats toward me and the Onion in general over that month that they were going to come after us for
window,
thought crime, whatever. I don't know exactly what
for silencing him, for taking his free speech.
Yes, for taking his free speech, for basically enacting a judgment, several judgments against him by bidding on the company. And a lot of people ask me, the judge, for example, was like, "Why wouldn't this sell for more? Why wouldn't this go for more?"
Yeah, I got to admit, that's a pretty good price.
Yeah, right. And it's because you're not buying InfoWars. You're buying Alex Jones's personal harassment campaign for the rest of your life. You are inheriting this thing. You're taking on all of this bullshit forever. We were just talking about strength and how he views strength. How Alex Jones views strength.
Yeah, shirtless on a horse.
Yeah. And what I've realized over the last 18 months is strength is actually sticking through to what you believe and what is the right thing to do for people who would otherwise just abandon it. It's not about showing up on a horse and taking big pills until your voice sounds like this down here.
So it's up to you to decide who sounds more reasonable. The guy screaming and it sounds like gravel is going through a meat grinder as he's talking and his shirt is off, or Ben here who seems to be speaking a little bit more rationally, and I think I would trust him a wee bit more. An Alex Jones nipple a bit more, okay? Don't know why that had to be added, but you understand. You understand better than anybody.
That's funny. All right.
Triggered like the largest FBI investigation in the nation's history. They hunted down people, even the ones that were just trespassing. And by the way, people absolutely did violence, and they should not have been pardoned or commuted. The ones that actually attacked police officers,
which
or
Trump
did
unfortunately.
Yeah, which he did, but they should not have been pardoned or commuted. But like, this led to the largest manhunt in like the history of the FBI. When Antifa rioters rioted for hundreds of days during the Black Lives Matter riots, if you go look at the books, those people got settlements from all these major metropolitan areas.
No,
so they
there
got
were
paid.
10 to 15,000 arrests and everything. Not every single one got settlements from police departments. That's an outlandish
A bunch of these
claim.
groups got settlements. The city of Chicago, I just covered it, paid out $12 million in settlements to these groups.
That's fine, but one, that's not a federal. That's just the city of Chicago. It's not the FBI. It's not a federal thing. Number two, my guess is just like with the J6 defendants. When you look at the details of literally any of these cases, you guys are completely off on the details almost every single time. You're missing a huge part that would dramatically change how people would view the actual thing itself. And then number three, the FBI, you talk about how it was the largest investigation of all time. It was also the largest undoing of an investigation of all time. You had Kash Patel running in and firing every single federal employee that had been involved in any kind of investigation related to Donald Trump, even the Mar-a-Lago stuff. You had a mass pardon for everybody involved. You have pardons now for people that were convicted of seditious conspiracy for the same guy they were seditiously conspiring themselves for, and you had a payout for Ashley Babbitt when she was killed for trying to break through a window to go and seize congressmen in the Capitol during an insurrection. So the idea that it was the largest FBI investigation of all time, when you had Donald Trump literally celebrating Mueller's death,
If we lose these elections, the House, and in this case the House, and just it's going to be a disaster.
And shut your bitch ass up.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. I'm rocking my pants, putting songs in fear, making the tears rain down like a monsoon. Listen to the bass go boom, explosion, overpowering.
If we lose.
Hell yeah. What a badass. She's a state senator. I love her. Wow. She's awesome.
A couple weeks ago is insane to me. It's not even remotely close to the same on both sides on this.
So
yeah, the reaction federally was much more extreme to January 6th.
But is that not valid to have a pretty strong federal reaction to?
I'm just pointing out the standard. Like, if you want to investigate and hunt down these people that did violence, like, I don't think they should have been pardoned. I don't excuse them. So, but like, yeah, the idea that there wasn't a massive federal response to that is just not true.
Nobody said there wasn't.
I think we all agree there was a strong federal response.
But it was a strong federal attack. It was a strong attack on federal property. Antifa was not rioting against just federal buildings or a singular federal building. The J6 thing was
they do attack a lot of federal buildings.
Sure, they do, and in those cases they should be charged
the White
and
House
arrested
in May
for it.
of that year.
Sure.
The federal courthouse in Portland for like 100
I know.
days
Yeah,
straight,
you guys love to go to those things while making excuses for all the J6 people. It was only trespassing.
I'm not making an excuse. You're talking to somebody who's not here. I'm not making an excuse for them. I'm saying they should not have been pardoned.
Yeah, let me just check a couple quick. Did you say only trespassing? You said they were only trespassing, right?
I said.
You said they were only trespassing. Brad, did you hear him say they were only trespassing? Sean seems to have
I didn't say they were only trespassing. I was differentiating. I was differentiating the people who were trespassing and didn't commit serious crimes versus the ones who did any act of violence.
Second,
you could rewind the tape.
Is trespassing a crime?
True.
Yeah, it is a crime.
Oh, okay, cool. So then they probably should have been investigated and arrested if it was easy to find them. I agree.
I mean, again, but the scale of trespassing to like the actual violence and the people who should have been prosecuted is completely different.
What do you mean the scale up? What is a comparable attack on federal property?
The scale of trespassing to violent crimes? Like, what do you mean? One is like one of the lowest level misdemeanors or violations, and a violent crime is a violent crime, but usually classified as a felony.
Isn't that going to be the same in probably every single rioting event? Do you think the majority of rioters are also committing violent crime, or do you think the majority of them are also like breaking and entering or trespassing?
Well, the rioters are typically breaking and entering.
And trespassing.
The people doing the riot.
But the vast majority of the people are not committing violent crimes,
in there. But there's obviously a distinction that you're trying to like breeze over between the people who are walking through the building or might have been directed through the building at certain points in time and didn't touch anything.
All the excuses. I'm just curious. Do you think that Donald Trump lose the 2020 election?
He lost the 2020 election. Biden was president for 4 years. What are you talking about? Yeah. So, there were people that were definitely directed, didn't touch anything, and they moved through the building, and then they left.
The people that were directed were people that had already trespassed, that were being directed into other areas for police control. They weren't led into the building.
All right, see you later, buddy.
I'm not. First of all, again, he's trying to misconstrue. I'm not saying
you're the one that brought it up. You said led through the building.
I'm not saying there's a grand police.
It's not even relevant.
I'm not saying that there's a grand police conspiracy to like direct these people in there to frame them or anything of the sort. But there are things called strategic retreats where they try to funnel people into different ways in order to prevent a crowd. Like, I've been defending the Capitol Police on this for years. Like, you just haven't paid attention to that.
I'll say this, Stephen, you gotta give Sean a little credit. He is not a blind MAGA.
What? No, he's literally giving every pass possible and literally uttering every dog whistle he can. He literally said
they were going after people who were just
trespassing while Antifa was
there were people who were
hundreds of days. Trespassing is a crime, buddy. Sorry, it is, especially if you're doing it in conjunction with a ton of other people.
I never said that it wasn't.
Then why complain about it?
All right,
because
we're going to move along, guys. Guys, we're going to move along to the final topic here while we have time, which I'm sure you guys will totally agree on and won't be contentious at all. The latest on the political fallout from the ongoing Iran war. That's not a war, but it's also a war that we've been fighting for 47 years. Trump, here's the headline from Mediaite. Trump drops jaw-dropping attack on Democrats opposing Iran war. Traitors all. Of course, the penalty for being a traitor is, of course, death. Here's from his post on Truth Social. The Democrats are doing everything possible to hurt the very strong position we are in with respect to Iran. A little further down in the post here, he says, we're in it and it will be done right. And we won't let the weak and pathetic Democrats, traitors all,
weak and pathetic
who for years
Democrats,
have been talking about the dangers of Iran and that something has to be done. But now, since I'm the one doing it, belittle the accomplishments of our military and the Trump administration. This is, quote, being perfectly executed on the scale of Venezuela, just a bigger, more complex operation. I mean, so there's layers here, Sean, but I think surely you can agree that opposing Trump's war with Iran does not, in fact, make a Democrat or an independent, like myself, a traitor.
No, it doesn't make you a traitor. Treason is like the most overthrown around thing in the United States of America's political discourse. Treason's like the only crime defined in the Constitution. Like, you can't change the definition in the United States of America. Almost nothing meets that standard. Like, it's just not the case. So yeah, this is very much like the, oh, you're opposed to the war, you hate the troops kind of rhetoric. It's dumb. It's stupid. I don't like it. Even the people, and I think there was like a Chris Murphy tweet that people were highlighting where he was like cheering Iranian boats making it through the blockade. And like even people who are like rooting for like Iran are not technically traitors in the United States of America. Like, it's weird.
That tweet, while a mistake, was also meant ironically, potentially, that he was saying like amazing, as in pointing out that it's going poorly, not as in he's actually rooting for the Iranian ships. But even that would not constitute treason.
But even rooting for the enemy, even though that I find that to be reprehensible, is not treason. So yeah, it's the most overblown thing.
Wearing
I've
suspenders?
in that all that much.
But as for this question
Stephen.
here, well, hang on, I want to get your thoughts, because rather than just have Stephen obviously agree with that, do you agree with Trump's assessment that this is being perfectly executed, and that where is your general thoughts on how this is going with Iran?
I mean, I don't know if it's being perfectly executed or not. I assume Trump likes to exaggerate and like he likes to sell people on things. Obviously, things are going bad. Like, things are going good. Like, that's the nature of a military operation. But the comparison to Venezuela, I mean, that was a quick and easy, like, relatively removal of Nicolas Maduro that cost no American lives. I believe we're up to 13 casualties, which is not considered a lot, but you don't have any ground troops there. So, like, maybe that is a lot. So I don't think this is, like, perfectly executed or anything of the sort. But I also don't think it's, like, an apocalyptic disaster or a quagmire right now. It's, like, hard to have a quagmire with, like, less than 2 months in my opinion.
It threatens to become one, obviously.
It could become one, sure, but like anything could become something else.
Yeah, I just don't understand what the accomplishments here are other than decimating like the Iranian Navy,
their leadership,
and military. But okay, but we replaced the leadership with like the leadership's son and with more hardline IRGC elements. So it's like we haven't replaced the regime. We haven't been able to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, which was open at the start of the war. I don't believe the nuclear imminent threat notion, and they've been all over the map on that. It's just, to me, this tweet feels like cope, like if the war was actually going well. Also, he's talking about Democrats sabotaging the war. How? They literally have no power over anything. They can't do anything except make statements and vote symbolically. They don't control the House. They don't control the Senate. Like, what? How are they sabotaging the war other than talking about it negatively? The tweet, Stephen, and maybe you probably agree with this, feels like him lashing out. And if it was actually going well, he wouldn't need to be schizo posting like this.
I just want to go back to how gross it was that Zoran took a day to condemn the Islamic extremists while Trump is talking about ending civilizations and blaming Democrats. Well, I mean, like, it's just like, this is like example 7 trillion of like Trump just saying an unbelievably reprehensible, insane thing that everybody on the conservative side essentially gives him a pass for. I mean, yeah, nothing speaks like strength.
Trump did not give him a pass.
What? No, it's basically, none of this stuff is like moving the needle on how these people feel about Trump, broadly speaking. It's all just like epic and memes when Trump tweets it out. So, I mean, what are you going to do?
What about your thoughts on the war being perfectly executed?
I don't even know how you would define that. I'm sure there are a lot of his friends making money on Polymarket right now, and apparently the United States energy market can be insulated from the rest of the world, and since we make all of our own oil, it's not going to affect our gas prices at all or anything. So, you know, whatever Trump says, he's got a better mind for econ than the rest of us do, I guess.
Yeah, okay, Sean, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's not true. Energy is traded on a global scale. Like, having local production doesn't exempt you, unless you're subsidizing energy for your citizen. But even then, that costs you a significant amount of money in order to do that. But yeah, like, I don't think the war is going perfectly. Like, ideally, if you started taking out leadership, you would hope for an uprising of the population and they would do part of the work for you. But most of the Iranian people aren't armed, so like they can't really overwhelm the IRGC. You also have the Kurds that maybe they're tired of being used by the United States of America to fight and then not get a Kurdish state, so they don't seem to be all that interested in participating in I believe the west of Iran. Like, you know, I think the plan at one point was to arm Kurdish fighters and send them into like at least Kurdish areas. So yeah, it's not going perfectly. Like, this is obviously an exaggeration at this point in time.
So you voted for Trump, right, Sean?
No, I don't vote.
Oh, you don't vote. Interesting.
He supported Trump though, and wanted people to vote for Trump, and was largely supporting.
I preferred Trump to Kamala Harris.
I mean, can you acknowledge though that Trump, whatever you think of the war, it's like objectively not what he campaigned on, right? The amount of times that he said no new wars, and has like explicitly built this ideology and movement as against Middle Eastern regime change wars. I feel like, and I've known people in Republican politics and in conservative intellectual world who've wanted a regime change war against Iran for a long time. And obviously I think the Iranian regime is evil, and we can discuss all of it. But I feel like the whiplash between Trump, everything he built the MAGA movement around, and what he then immediately did upon taking office is just like been skipped over. Can you at least acknowledge that it's like quite the 180 degree?
Well, I actually don't agree. Like, he was very clear for over a decade and maybe even longer than that in private life that he didn't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Like, you could say that you don't believe that they were going to develop it imminently, but if you made a list of countries with
Trump
60%,
the administration said that.
If you made a list, I'm saying you can say you don't believe that. That's fine. But if you made a list of countries with 60% enriched uranium that aren't nuclear powers, it would be one nation, the nation of Iran. So like, it's not like there is no nuclear threat. Like, they've been sabotaging this program. The United States.
I'm just curious. What did Trump mean when he said no new wars? What did that mean?
Well, I'm sure. Look, he had contradictory messaging for sure, but he was clear that he didn't want Iran to get a nuclear weapon.
So then he wasn't clear when he said no new wars, right?
Under oath that they weren't building a nuclear weapon after Trump became president again for the second time.
Who testified? Tulsi Gabbard?
Yeah, the DNI. the director.
Okay, but like they still have 60% enriched uranium. Like it's not like I don't know if they were about to build a bomb. Like, you know, I know people are saying 1 week away, which I think is a stupid thing to say. It's too evocative of Iraq and weapons of mass destruction. I mean, you might as well throw ties to Al Qaeda in there. Most people don't know the Shia-Sunni split. I'm sure you could get away with that. But like, yeah, they shouldn't have advocated on that. But they do have 60% enriched uranium.
They also
this
told
is
us
far
that it had
beyond
all been destroyed in the initial bombing, right? The White House.
They shouldn't have said that. That was not
up.
Well, it was that they
contradictory
devastated.
messaging, Brad.
It was that they
contradictory messaging.
First of all, they said that they devastated their nuclear sites, but it was reported that their uranium was moved prior to the U.S. and Israel bombing those sites. I think that was in June or July.
I can pull up. I have it pulled up here actually, and they said that they were set back decades. And this was, let me see if the date is on this, June 25th, 2025. And then, you know, less than a year later, he's launching a war about a supposed imminent threat. So either the first time he was blatant, like lying or somehow wrong, which is, you know, a massive catastrophe for the administration, or it's not actually an imminent nuclear threat that would justify some kind of launching a war.
Like, again, so first of all, him lying about the scale of the attack and its success last year, 100% very likely to happen. But also it's not that I don't think they were a week away from a nuclear bomb or anything of the sort. But the point is, they do have 60% enriched uranium. This is far above civilian grade. And the idea that you wait for a hostile foreign power to develop a nuke or to be like right a day away from developing a nuke before you take action, to me is absurd. I mean, everything that's happening right now with the closing of the Strait of Hormuz and the pressure on the world economy, Iran would be able to do plus a nuclear weapon. Like, we don't want another North Korean style regime in a much more crucial part of the world. So this is like what they're trying to avoid.
All right, Stephen, your thoughts?
Yeah, maybe they shouldn't have pulled out of the Iranian nuclear deal then when Trump came into office that he tore up because Obama made it and he was mad about it.
Let Stephen make his point.
Sure.
Well, no, I mean, like, that's it. I mean, like, this is supposed to be the president who negotiates new deals. He hasn't negotiated anything. We're, you know, looking for negotiations with Iran right now. That sounds like it's going to put them in a better position than before the war. We've got a president who didn't plan for anything related to the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, which is unbelievable. We've got a president who's alienated himself from all of his allies for the entirety of this presidency, and now he's surprised that nobody wants to help him clean up the mess that he created for literally no reason in Iran. We've got a president who, you know, put a pin in the timeline right now. Sean is defending everything the U.S. is doing right now, claiming that the United States and Trump lied about the Iranian weapons being destroyed, I guess, a year ago. Well, what if they're lying right now when we go to war again, you know, a year after today, saying that everything he said today was actually a lie, and in a year he's going to clean up the lies that he made last time? Like, these are worse and more blatant. Like, at least Bush and Cheney had the wherewithal to lie to the American public by, you know, like creating their little special office and trying to fabricate this whole idea to go to war with Iraq, as opposed to Trump, who just like makes up whatever lie comes to his mind, you know, every single day, and doesn't even include the rest of the administration up in his lies. So no, I like this idea of that Trump can say whatever and do no wrong, and it's all just memes and trolls, and, you know, maybe he's lying today, but tomorrow it won't be, but tomorrow will be a lie when the next day comes. It's just deeply unserious to me.
All right, guys, we are going to leave it there. Thank you both so much for your time. Really appreciate the conversation.
It's fun. Do a little Abba and
Andrew
preach.
Tate. Now, this has been going for quite some time, ever since the whatever happened, the nightclub where they were doing the salute and doing all that crazy ass shit.
It seems he's got himself exposed and all these revelations are going to come to light. So I'm going to tell you a very factual story. I'm not Gossip Girl. I'm not here to insult anyone. I have no personal vendetta against anybody. I'm not mad at anyone who's ever insulted me.
I'm not going to lie, saying I'm not Gossip Girl. I'm not here with any vendetta. I would never do that. I don't like to just talk bad about the girlies while flicking your hands like this. Bitch, get the tea ready.
Just a guy, and I'm just here to tell a version of the story as I lived it. I'm just here to tell the truth. That's it.
I'm going to say this too. Any man who tells you a story going like this the whole time is lying. Lying out his fucking teeth. Even if his mouth closed, he lying. If he goes, bro, I'm going to just tell you everything that happened, so swear to me, God, on my mama, on my dead homies, that nigga lying.
Noted.
What's that supposed to mean?
That means exactly what I just said.
Okay.
Noted.
I do this sometimes, and I am lying. Self-report. Self-report.
Hence why I noted it. I was like,
and I knew you noted it because I noted why you noted it. You know what I'm saying?
Is that
a lion? He doing this. I didn't do nothing. I did everything. I did everything and more. You don't even know half.
A few years ago, there was a streamer, I think everybody knows who I'm talking about, who was obsessed with me. If I got a girl's number on Fresh and Fit, he tried to do the same thing. Every single thing I did, he copied verbatim. He tried to be me, literally be me. He was obsessed with me.
What'd you say?
I said he's not wrong.
I agree.
He's not wrong.
Sneeko 1000% copied everything Tate did. He started doing this fucking cringe ass shit, wearing the shades just like him, even talking. His inflection changed.
The leather jacket,
yes.
the glasses,
yes.
This position right here, the enunciation of Bugatti.
I will agree. He definitely did that.
So
I remember at one point Sneeko looked at me and we were in a conversation. He said, and I'm like, if Andrew Tate was across from you, would you give your daughter to him as a man who's worthy?
I remember
and he
that.
said yes.
Would you let your daughter date somebody like Andrew Tate? If your daughter was 18 and Andrew Tate came up to her and when he's 40 years old, would you let your daughter date that guy?
Sneeko, you would give your daughter to a man who has 19 other women?
If he was a good guy, yeah.
Really?
And I just want y'all to think about that because look at where they're at today.
He came to Romania with two people who I respect very much, Myron and Fresh, great guys. They managed to convince me to allow him to come. He came there and started acting really fruity and really weird. He started telling me that he had this thing that was exposed. He had this big scandal, and he asked me what I think about. Isn't it normal just to try new things? Don't you think it's normal to be curious? How do you know if you're really gay or not unless you've tried being gay? And then I realized he was coming on to me. Stuff. I don't want to be a drama merchant like he is. My brand isn't sitting online.
My brand is Bugatti.
Bugatti!
What color is your Bugatti?
Every time you say that, I hear something else.
Yeah,
All right. It's full of bukkake.
Let's cut him off. He's upset. You can see in his eyes. It's not because he is morally superior. It's not because he just wants clicks. It's a habitual rage which is suppressed. Guys, I don't like saying this. I feel uncomfortable making this video. I just said, no, I'm not gonna you, bro. Get out of here.
Okay. Now this is a funny spin on this thing. Andrew's just basically going full petty and just saying, you gay. No, but bro, you gay. Yo, forget y'all point. You're gay, right? Hey! Can we just acknowledge that you gay? That's his whole video.
Yeah.
What the reality is that he looked up to Andrew and Andrew rejected him and he felt slighted by that. That's it. I've seen this dynamic between a bunch of straight dudes. When you look up to a dude and you defend them and they shade you, bro, you get salty.
Oh, 100%.
You get salty. And Sneeko might deny it. He can do whatever he wants. But at the end of the day, he definitely went the extra mile to be like, Andrew Tate this, Andrew Tate that. And I get it. Sneeko put a lot of time. It's kind of gay. Put a lot of time into defending a man who wouldn't even acknowledge him 90% of the time. So it's not because he's gay. But these guys, they want to frame it that way because that's a big win in their world.
Yeah.
If you're gay, it's the worst thing in the world.
Now he's Muslim LARPing. He's Islam LARPing. Constantly LARPing about Islam while being gay in private and taking drugs in private.
Wait.
You're going too much. He's just really still following you.
Is this guy going to accuse somebody of Islam? This guy? You can say whatever you want about it. He 100 times more of a Muslim than you. I see you doing Christmas celebrations, running around talking about you still got OnlyFans girls working for you, gambling casinos, all this other fucking gambling bullshit. You're the one who take gambling promos. How you gonna say that man's not? But look at you. He at least go to the mosque on a regular basis, does Islam-related videos. Nah, listen, if anyone LARPing, you could say all of them LARPing, but this motherfucker's the biggest LARPer of them all. Because I remember he had his conversion. The next day, he had a fucking big-ass promo with stake.com. And if you guys aren't aware, gambling in Islam is one of the worst things. That is, it's up there with debt and some other. It is crazy to do a gambling promo as a hundreds of millions of dollars person.
He keeps his faith on the internet, and in his private life is completely haram. So we can discuss which one of us is the real Muslim if we want to have that conversation. But I live in an Islamic country. I live in Dubai. He lives in New York.
I've been to Dubai. It is about as Muslim as a pig's anus. There is very little that's Muslim about that city. Sorry. No. And even you living there, that's where all the fucking expats and all the Dubai poo-poo influencers go to get shat on by fucking princes and shit. What the fuck is Muslim about you living there? What the fuck are you talking about? Go to Dearborn, Michigan. You're probably more Muslim than anyone in Dubai. Poo-poo influencers. Poo-poo influencers. That's what I call them. That's what they do. I'm being honest with you. You will never see more plastic surgery than when you see foreigners in Dubai. Dead ass. It's like motherfuckers look at, I'm so conservative. I live in Miami, Florida.
He's the Lulu for the poo-poo.
Let's take a listen to Sneaker's response, because apparently there's a lot more that happened since then. And I think this part is the more interesting part, because I think it says a lot about both of them.
I don't want to give this any energy, but this is part of a bigger coordinated attack. I'm a streamer. I'm a public persona. But people who aren't public persona, bringing them into this is heinous. It's evil. And it's beyond what I thought a lot of these people would be capable of. You know, I'm here. I'm in the public space. I can see how that makes sense. But when you bring other people into this, you cross the line.
So if people aren't aware, Andrew Tate was reposting stuff, I think, about some people very close to him who are completely offline. I have no...
Oh, his family. His family got doxxed and stuff. So.
Yeah.
That is completely unacceptable. And it's a true depiction of character. I don't want to bring it up right now. I don't want to bring more attention to it. I
just want to say, you remember when I said I will... Go ahead, preach what you going to say.
Memorize what?
Go ahead, what you going to say. I know what you're going to say.
Yo, Sneeko, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Because you're the same ass motherfucker that was kikiing with the Fresh and Fit motherfuckers when they did whatever they did when they were outing who they thought they outed. You were kikiing, which was supposed to be my wife or whatever or not. You were kikiing with them and having fun with them, or you don't do that, but now it happens to you and now, you cross the line? Shut the fuck up. Oh my God, I'm hurt. Shut up. Laughing and making jokes and shit. Now it's off. Now, oh my God, it's off brand. You did that. You did that. Oh, how have the table turned? You poor bitch. And mind you, I'm not really happy for your family that happened to you. Like, I'm not. But see, that's how the fuck it feels like.
The people around who don't deserve that. And it's that stuff is not, there's...
No, it's not it, right?
You cross the line, bro. Andrew Tate is going after me personally, people in my personal life that are not involved. It's on Twitter, so it is what it is. I faced a lot of backlash, and part of the reason I got banned everywhere was to defend him, because I believed that they were fighting the Matrix. We found out that was different when he got out of jail.
And I think this is one of the principal issues that I have with these types. They'll act like they're all principled. Everything is this. It's about the fucking message. And they'll be like, oh my God, can you believe that person's character? And your best friend's Myron. Like, none of that makes any sense to me. And it's not like, oh, you guys are friends offline. You guys are friends only promote each other. You sat on the streams while he was doing that shit, posting pictures of other people's spouses and partners who had no business being online, who never were public figures. And you laughed. And now that it's your turn, now it's crossed the line. It's a moral indignation. So what, do you only think behavior is bad when it affects you? All the other times you co-signed, amplified, encouraged? He goes to talk on about how he defended people against Moist Critical and took so much shit on the internet. Why did you defend them? Do you think it's a virtue to defend people who are morally reprehensible and are lying because they're your friend? Do you think that's a good thing at the expense of the audience, at the expense of the people they're defrauding, at the expense of the people that they're misrepresenting themselves? Do you think it's a virtue? That's why I don't like a lot of these characters in this space. Is nothing matters in terms of values and consistency. Nothing. They will lie. They will say behavior is bad one day and say it's good the next. If it's their friend, it's all amazing. If it's someone else, it's always horrible. Of course I think what's happening is bad. That's why I don't talk about who. I'm not even gonna get into it. We don't need to know. It doesn't matter. I don't care about his personal life. I don't care if this nigga is gay. I don't care if he's straight, transsexual. I don't give a fuck. What bothers me is that these people lead men and don't really sit there and own the fact that they spent years supporting, endorsing, and to this day still support people who did the same things that they're apparently against. Free speech advocate. We should be able to talk. Your buddy who spent how long doing fake DMCA claims because you wanted to silence his detractors. But then you'll talk about censorship. You think it's a great... I supported Andrew Tate through his case. Why? There's clips of him online bragging about taking advantage of men and stealing all their life savings for his own riches.
I had these guys selling their houses, life savings, loans, all of it to me. Give me it all.
That documentary, that's one of my favorite clips with HS, because he's one of the few people who are piece of shit enough to admit it openly. I don't give a fuck about anyone. I'm in this for me. And that's true for all these pieces of garbage in this space. When Siegel came out and said the red pill is dead, God pill, yeah, okay. But you got to go sit back and eat all the stuff that you endorsed for so long and sold to fans who spent money on that bullshit. Don't get defensive. Don't take it personal. I'm just being straight with you as a person and anybody watching. People are always okay with bad behavior as long as it doesn't target them and their tribe. Then you don't think the behavior is bad. You just don't like who it targets. And to me, I can't respect that. I edited that clip in that exact way because I knew Preach was going to act that way. I knew Preach was going to pick up on the exact thing that I picked up on, which is him saying, this crossed the line. It crossed the line. But you watched it happen to somebody else and it didn't cross the line. You didn't say a word. I think you're just not ready to address what you did before. Not truly. And it's tough to get online and say, I was wrong for all them years I endorsed this shit. I was wrong for all them years that I said this shit was real. Why? Because these people may be real friends to you in some ways or whatever. But at the end of the day, the people you roll with, most of them are garbage. Why should anyone really think that you've changed? Now, I might believe, but I understand why Preach does it.
Don't act like they flipped on you or they flipped. They did those things. They didn't flip. They're just doing it on you. That's it. There's no change. That motherfucker was pissing. What changed was the win, so you received that piss in the face. But that motherfucker was pissing.
That's a bar.
That's a bar.
Pissing.
So
right out the car. You in the back seat, they were in the front seat.
Your window was
same
open.
side.
Yup. Flang.
Don't recommend it. I've seen people do that.
Now you have a mouthful of piss and you gotta swallow. Pause.
Don't
put my picture up.
So I'll say.
He put my picture.
Someone suggested, if you guys donate $100, I will read your fortune using Preach's head. But a minimum 100. Anyone who goes above that, it'll be a really good fortune. Positive. What's that?
Thank you. Make it shiny.
Is that baby oil? Whoa.
I got to moisturize. What you talking about?
My other friends weren't sure. The whole combo and some of them too. Ooh.
The P&P Diddy's for Preach.
Oh, yeah.
Bet y'all never saw that coming.
No, because you're sweating. I cannot leave you alone. Your forehead's glistening, so my shit going.
All right, so some people don't know this, but I sweat a lot. It's
yes, no, we know.
Okay, let me rephrase. You're right. Everyone knows. You know what? What I was gonna say was when I go out dancing, for example, people like to see my Instagram stories, but they're like, "Yo, why do you change shirts so many?" It's because I sweat a lot. And I think part of being considerate is if you know you nasty, wipe your forehead. You know what I mean?
And it's time and time again, it's the people that are closest to you that you've defended the most. People that I've went to back and forth with moist criticals because I was defending people that I thought were my friends.
Stop defending people because they're your friends. Start defending people on principle. You know, you want to talk about values and morals and you want to stay on the subject, but you defended somebody because y'all know each other. Do you think that's an ethical, great thing? Your friend was wrong. He lied to sell a course about how he slept with 1,000 women and he told these fucking fake ass stories about his whole life. And you defended his lies. It's not a virtue.
My reputation changed forever because of the Manosphere Association, the Red Pill Association, because I was defending him so much. Look at what he's doing now. None of that was reciprocated. And to my face, Andrew Tate says no issue, shakes my hand, and wants to do a video with me in New York.
You upheld and defended an ideology that you now say today is full of frauds and charlatans. But now you're framing this like, yo, I went to fucking war and defended you. My reputation took a hit. But yeah, because you defended frauds and charlatans. It's not like you were doing some even kind of reporting or you were honestly critiquing them when they deserved it.
When he's saying that, when he's saying exactly that there, when he's saying, oh, I defended you and I took a hit, he's saying in a sense that I defended you, I'm looking for reciprocity. And why is he saying that? It's because when he's saying I defended you, I took a hit, my credibility took a hit, that means that I defended you even though this shit was highly questionable. I defended you and I took a hit. So you took a hit and you defended it despite you knew. So I mean, you knew it was despicable. You knew it was bad. You knew it was not legit, yet you still defended him, expecting him to defend you later on in life. Sorry to say, it just proves that you're a garbage human being.
I won't go that far, but I do.
And you went like this, so that's a lie. All right, carry on.
One hand is maybe.
So it's half a lie.
Half a lie. You turned and closed your eyes when you saw shit that was off. And I know Sneako's smart enough to hear certain clips and be like, that sounds fucked up. But he didn't cover it. That clip of Andrew Tate on the Full Send podcast for me says everything about who he is as a human. If my friend had ever said something like that, I already know I'm done with that person. And this for me, as a male advocate, I already know you're the most disgusting piece of garbage. And Sneako has played this since. He's played this now in the last couple of months, but he didn't play it back then.
I had these guys selling their houses, life savings, loans, all of it to me. Give me it all. So like, and it's basic shit, right? You'd have a guy.
Feel bad or no?
Fuck no. To give a solitary fuck.
This is the man you defended, the man who took advantage of other men. You went out of your way to constantly defend this person. And he never lied about who he was. He always was pretty upfront about being a garbage piece of shit in his whole life and how he made his wealth. He always was very upfront about it. He didn't care about taking advantage of people. And you think it's a virtue that you defended this man against these attacks from the Matrix. Sometimes I wonder, am I expecting too much of people? And then I tell myself, fuck that. These people make millions off the backs of regular people. They make millions, some of them millions a month. Some of y'all may not even get there in your lifetime. These guys make that shit in a month. All I'm saying is don't defend people you know are unethical in how they make their money. Maybe that's too much. I don't know. Maybe I'm a virtue sing, whatever it is. I don't know. I'm not the most religious person in the world, but I truly believe the kind of things that you do to others, the kind of unethical behavior that you know in your heart of hearts, that you question but you silence, that shit does come to find you at some point. And this might be a tough time, and I don't wish this on your family and friends, and I hope they all get through it. But I hope you think about how you made other people feel when you were defending folks who did that to others. That's all I hope. And I hope for everyone watching at home, forget fucking Sneako, forget Tate, forget all the in the red pill space, forget all these people. Sometimes y'all are in places where nobody's watching. It's easy to f people over when you know you're gonna get away with it. But I hope you know that that kind of energy you put out there, that kind of shit that you foster, it will find its way back to you in some type of way. You might feel like the victim at that time, but I hope you think back on those moments where no one was watching and you decide to fuck someone over for your own selfish gain. But you know what, guys? You know how many people have contacted me from Myron's high school, from his family life, that I have never mentioned publicly in my whole life? Never talks about it. Those people would email me, I'm like, I'm not doing that. One, it doesn't really have much to do with the things I cover. Secondly, you just don't feel right. And I don't give a fuck. Myron might be truly homosexual. I don't know. I don't really care. I think it's kind of funny to think about because of how I'm straight, nigga. Hey, you suck, but I don't fuck my girl. It's funny. I don't care. This nigga might suck 10 a day. Tell AG to fucking clean up the shit on the sheets.
Goddamn.
You get your citizenship, bitch. Just clean up the shit. I don't want to fucking do it. I don't care.
If you don't clean it up, I'll clean it up. Hi. That's probably what he's saying, but that ain't got nothing to do with me.
Nigga say you was yes, you're so good with that shit, bro. These are not things that are worth getting into. And that's why people are like, but why'd y'all defend Myron when he was getting falsely? Because it's unethical not to. I don't really care about this goofball and whether or not his life goes well or not. I think he's a horrible person. I think that about a lot of these people in the red pill space. I think a lot of scammers and charlatans rose to the top to lead men when men were lost. That's an indictment on society for not giving space to dudes to figure their fucking shit out. But it doesn't change. I think these people, but I still wouldn't be like, hey man, fuck, you got some dirt on Myron, bro? Hey, oh yeah. So he sucked in 7th grade? Word? I'm not doing that. So, yeah, I'm not gonna sit. What?
Sucking in 7th grade is crazy.
Is it?
You just said that like.
I'm not saying that happened. I'm not even saying somebody's told me.
No, that's not what I was saying.
Let me clear it up. Because I did sound kind of crazy. You're right. I was giving a random example of what someone might do. I'm actually caring, okay? That sounds crazy.
You see, Sneako? That's what you do when your friends sound crazy. You tell them. Right on the spot.
Hey, you know what? Thank you. Because I actually would not like a rumor from me to start that way about him. Because it's not true. And even if it harms his reputation, makes him look, I don't want that. So genuinely, thank you. Someone said weirdly specific.
That was crazy. That's what I'm saying.
Yo,
that's
listen,
why I laughed.
I'm gonna be accountable and I'm gonna apologize right now. That's my bad. I should not have said that, guys. I'm gonna say that right now. That was me fucking up.
Because you said that.
I was just but I was just free. I was being real. I was free flowing, and sometimes when you freestyle it, sometimes you get balls on your forehead. That was that moment, okay?
Balls on your forehead.
You're watching The Legal Breakdown, Glenn. It looks like the FBI director, Kash Patel, has found himself in some hot water in the aftermath of The Atlantic's reporting about his purported drinking problem as director of the FBI. Kash Patel has promised a $250 million defamation lawsuit. And so, first question here, what are the risks, if it turns out that The Atlantic's reporting is correct, what are the risks of Kash Patel continuing on with his own $250 million lawsuit?
Well, Brian, I think the most direct risk is that Kash Patel will be put under oath, and he will have to answer questions subject to the penalties of perjury about these incidents that were reported by The Atlantic. Incidents of excessive drinking, incapacitation, erratic behavior, potential security issues. And, if he were to lie under oath, that would be a federal felony offense. So that is the biggest risk. There's a secondary risk that if it turns out his suit proves to be frivolous, the court could award him to pay the attorney's fees for the other side. I have a feeling The Atlantic's attorney's fees will be consequential. But, Kash Patel does not have the best track record when he's been put under oath and he had to testify. And we can talk about that down the road. But, as of right now, it looks like Kash Patel is taking a play out of Donald Trump's playbook. Somebody, publishes something that is unflattering, and immediately you run to court and try to use the court system to send the signal, whether accurately or not, that, oh, no, this is a bunch of lies, this is a bunch of fake news. But you know what? When it comes to a defamation suit, the devil's in the details. And when I see The Atlantic reporting saying that they interviewed more than 24 sources, now it doesn't say whether they were all FBI employees, but you know what, Brian? He is not a well-liked director of the FBI. He has caused so much upheaval within the organization itself, engendered by him wrongfully terminating so many special agents for simply doing the job that was assigned to them and doing it well and honestly and faithfully, that it wouldn't surprise me if there were lots and lots and lots of sources among the 24+ people that The Atlantic says it bases this reporting on.
Now, you had mentioned that one consequence of this, of Kash Patel losing this case, would be that he would have to pay the attorney's fees for The Atlantic. Is there any way that Kash Patel could try and claim that he's not suing in his personal capacity, but rather that he's represented by the federal government, to try and move that payment over from himself to the taxpayers?
He has brought this suit, and I haven't read the entire lawsuit, full disclosure, but, it smacks of being brought in his personal capacity, even though, he is the director of the FBI. The FBI is not suing the Atlantic. It is Kash Patel. So, they will have to argue over whether he has any kind of a straight-faced claim that he is, bringing this defamation suit in his official capacity as director of the FBI. But at the end of the day, if there's a judgment that's entered against him that this was a frivolous suit, it was a baseless suit, and the judge is actually considering awarding attorney's fees to the Atlantic, which frankly I think is not terribly likely, but if it happens, I would suspect Kash Patel would be on the hook personally to satisfy any judgment that a judge might issue directing him to pay the opposing counsel's fees.
Glenn, we have seen instances that kind of back up the general claims that are made in this story. For example, we all watched with our own eyes as Kash Patel took a government jet over to Milan to chug beers like a 19-year-old frat boy in the locker room of the USA men's hockey team. To what extent does stuff like that have an impact on this case more broadly?
Well, it will be relevant evidence in a defamation suit, whether, he was drinking, whether he was drinking on the job, whether he was drinking to excess, whether the reports are accurate and sort of supported by witness interviews. That, one of the allegations is that he couldn't even be sort of, rousted awake in a room behind the locked door. Yeah. And the reporting is there was a request made for what is basically a battering ram. It's a device used to breach a locked door. The reporting is there was a request made that equipment be brought for purposes of getting into the room in which Kash Patel was apparently located. You know, Brian, there are going to be records of that. You know, and there's video of him chugging beers with the Olympic hockey team. You know, that is, you know, at a minimum kind of unflattering and unseemly for the FBI director to be doing, especially if he's using, you know, government resources to get himself there. But all of that will be relevant evidence in this defamation suit.
Now, you had mentioned before while we were talking about this that if this lawsuit does indeed go forward and Kash Patel is deposed, that if he lies while under oath, it's a federal felony offense. To what extent can Donald Trump offer a pardon to basically absolve him of committing that crime?
Well, you know, even worse, before you get to the pardon stage, he could just direct his Department of Justice not to pursue any investigation if Kash Patel was suspected of potentially lying under oath during a deposition. You know, when you lie in a court proceeding under oath, that is typically a 5-year felony offense. And yes, you know, the end game would be Donald Trump could always pardon him. But, you know, even if this DOJ, Donald Trump's dirty DOJ, at least his dirty DOJ officials, opted not to investigate potential perjury lying under oath, a future law-abiding administration and Department of Justice could certainly investigate, and if the evidence supported it, indict and prosecute Kash Patel in the event he lied under oath in a criminal case. So it would require a presidential pardon to sort of cut that off at the pass. But, you know, I can't help but mention some of the challenges Kash Patel has had in court previously. You know, this is probably long since receded from our memories, but there was a trial in Colorado where the question was whether Donald Trump had engaged in insurrection, and if so, should he be disqualified by virtue of the 14th Amendment from being on a presidential ballot, holding an office in the future? Because, you know, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment says, listen, if you take an oath to support and defend the Constitution and thereafter you engage in insurrection or give aid and comfort to those who do, you are disqualified. You're ineligible to hold office. You know, Kash Patel testified in that trial out in Colorado on behalf of Donald Trump, and people may not remember, but the judge did not credit Kash Patel's testimony. Now, criminal litigators, prosecutors, defense attorneys, even civil litigators will understand the implications of that. Somebody who is now serving as the director of the FBI was once found not to be a credible witness by a judge at a trial. You know what that means? That means that prosecutors would be prohibited from sponsoring his testimony in the future. In other words, he couldn't even be put on the stand as a government witness, a prosecution witness. Why? Because what he would be cross-examined on is, well, wait a minute, Kash Patel, or Director Patel, if he was still director of the FBI, a judge previously found your testimony was not credible. She did not credit your testimony. Why in the world would this jury believe what you're saying today under oath? And on top of that, Brian, our viewers may remember the reporting that Kash Patel was put in front of the grand jury, a federal grand jury, investigating Donald Trump's suspected classified documents crimes down at Mar-a-Lago. And what did Kash Patel do? He invoked his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. And the law only permits you to do that if your truthful testimony would make it seem like you committed a crime, would implicate you in a crime. So listen, he has not had very good luck when he has, had to raise his right hand, be administered an oath to tell the truth. He really has not performed all that admirably.
Glenn, I want to take like a 30,000-foot view of this whole thing. What does it say more broadly when you have all of these administration officials, including Trump himself, that are relentlessly going after these media outlets and threatening these massive lawsuits. Donald Trump just sued the Wall Street Journal for $10 billion over the publishing of that letter that Trump purportedly sent to Jeffrey Epstein for his birthday, where it was shaped in the figure of a young woman. That was summarily dismissed by a judge, wouldn't even let this thing move forward. And now we have something along the very same lines by Kash Patel, a massive $250 million defamation suit, where, you know, look, we'll see what happens when this thing, if this thing moves forward, but it doesn't feel like what Patel is contending here really stands up to scrutiny. So what are your thoughts more broadly about the fact that you have these administration officials who continuously try and chill free speech by threatening these massive lawsuits?
Brian, it feels like a potential misuse of the court system. You know, not necessarily because you have really been done wrong. I mean, you know, he's going to have to prove actual malice, that the Atlantic knew that they were publishing these lies about him. And beyond that, if there is actual malice, which is going to be an uphill climb, that his reputation, Kash Patel's reputation, or his financial prospects, financial standing, have been injured by what the Atlantic published about him to the tune of $250 million. Can I just ask our viewers if they think Kash Patel's reputation is, you know, so strong and unimpeachable, you know, pristine, that damaging it is worth $250 million? I mean, it's kind of laughable in my estimation, like Donald Trump's $10 billion lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal. And as you indicated, the court has thrown that out. The court did let him try to amend his complaint, which was woefully inadequate the first time around. But this feels like using the court system, you know, not as a shield against somebody doing you wrong, but as a sword, just using the process as a sword to put people through all kinds of hell, having to hire lawyers and spend lots of money and maybe spend sleepless nights. It's a little bit of a variation. It feels like a variation on the vindictive prosecution scheme that Donald Trump is forever perpetrating against his perceived enemies.
And finally, last question here, Glenn. What are next steps in terms of this defamation lawsuit? And what happens in the event that a judge comes to the same conclusion in this case as the judge did with the Donald Trump Wall Street Journal case, where that was dismissed? What would happen in that instance?
So, you know, there will be first of all, there has to be an answer filed by the Atlantic, because right now the complaint, the lawsuit itself, was just filed by Kash Patel. And I think they'll have about 30 days to respond. And then they're going to fight what's called summary judgment. They're going to try to get this thing thrown out, saying it is woefully inadequate on the complaint, on the lawsuit that Kash Patel filed. But if it survives that summary judgment, that very early summary dismissal of the lawsuit, then discovery is on. And then the Atlantic is going to be able to propound written questions first, called interrogatories, which have to be answered under oath. And then they're going to depose Kash Patel. They're going to put him under oath. They're going to have a court reporter there, and they're going to wear him out. And I'll tell you, my money is not on Kash Patel, given some of the struggles he has had testifying. We've also seen his poor performance as a witness before Congress in these congressional hearings. So, you know, if I had to bet my $1, my betting limit, Brian, I would say this case is probably going to go away well in advance of ever seeing the inside of a courtroom.
And ironically enough, that would probably be Kash Patel's best outcome here, that this thing actually gets dismissed, so as not to embarrass him even further. But again, like you said, we'll keep an eye on this. And for those who are watching right now, if you'd like to stay on top of this and all other legal news, the best way to do that is to subscribe to both of our channels. I'm going to put those links right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. It's completely free to subscribe, but a great way to support our work. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
And I'm Glenn Kirshner.
You're watching The Legal Breakdown.
Boom. All right, what else we got? Oh boy.
she hates any Jew who won't praise October 7th. That is, again,
that's pretty crazy.
And
that's not an impossible standard that Jews should praise October 7th? That's insane, bro. Jesus Christ. Whoa, Wick TV slap. Do you think there's any merit in the view Sam Harris has taken in regard to the Iran war? I'm a big fan of you both and feel conflicted. That comes down to on how you view our respective takes on, I guess, Islam or whatever. I personally just think that Sam Harris is mega brain broken on Muslims and Islamic stuff in general. So that's my take. I think he's always way too favorable to anything that is anti-Islam or anti-urban in the Middle East or Europe, but that's my view. But other people think I downplay Islam too much, so who knows?
Boys and girls, kings and queens, how you doing today? How's everyone hanging? It's a bit of a day. Woke up this morning and saw what the president was tweeting. Crazy shit. Talking about how he's going to destroy a whole civilization, making huge threats against Iran. Pretty cringe, pretty gay, pretty yikes, as they say. Okay, yikes, I think is the appropriate term. Disgusting, gross, whatever, evil, whatever you want to use. Really bad. And of course, like clockwork, the left is blaming Democrats. Saw Hassan out there screaming for Democrats. Why don't you do anything? You need to do something. Well, you know what? Maybe if you'd helped us get into power, you might have been able to. Might have had power to stop or not do this, right? But since you didn't, it's kind of on you, frankly. Anyway, we'll get to that, I'm sure, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we go. But today's main topic that I had planned in advance. Last week we read an article, some of you were here for it, some of you weren't, called "Yes, All Jews," and I found it gross and anti-Semitic, and I wanted to call out the people who were defending it. And there were people, and I showed them on my screen, right? Like people running cover for it, okay? And Doobie jumped in, and he said he wanted to have a conversation with me, a debate with me, about whether or not this was anti-Semitic or not. So that's what we're going to do today. So buckle up, boys and girls. Should be a fun discussion. I'll just bring him on, and we'll get to it. How's that? Hello, we're live.
Hello.
Just making sure that you know that you are being recorded, that everything is there.
Yeah,
so.
it's okay. Do you want the frog?
Yeah, I mean,
Yes,
frogs get the views, okay?
Okay. Yeah, frogs get all the ladies.
Is that? I don't think a lot
that's why it
ladies,
exists. Yeah.
To be clear, but
okay, 13 emails. Good luck.
I mean, you can convince them that if they kiss it, they might turn into a princess or whatever. However the fuck that story goes. But, it works sometimes.
Maybe. I think that if they kiss you, then you turn into a prince. I think that's how that's like. It's been a while.
Yeah, maybe one of those things.
Anyway, let's just kind of get to it. So kind of set the stage for us here. You called in last week and wanted to talk about the article, and you said it wasn't anti-Semitic. Give us your thoughts then.
So I'm just gonna lay this out like as simply as possible, right? To avoid getting bogged down. But my position is that well, first off, can you define anti-Semitism? When you say anti-Semitism, or you think it's anti-Semitic, like what do you mean?
I like personally the Jerusalem Declaration on Anti-Semitism that was made in 2020.
Okay, real quick, is the article anti-Semitic? Wait, can somebody link me what article were they talking about? And I'll read it in a sec.
Go through, and it's a very simple one. Anti-Semitism is discrimination, prejudice, hostility, or violence against Jews as Jews, or Jewish institutions as Jewish. And there's several guidelines that it goes through, right? Like, so
this one, yes,
you can
all Jews.
criticize or oppose Zionism or Israeli policies harshly. That is not anti-Semitic, according to this definition.
Daniel.
But if you essentialize or make sweeping negative generalizations about Jews as a group, or hold Jews collectively responsible for Israelis' act, that is anti-Semitic. That's the definition.
Okay, so I'm totally fine with just using.
Do you agree with that definition broadly? I mean,
broadly, yes.
Disagree, I guess.
Is this really the blessed Al-Aqsa flood operation? Also, if anybody ever calls it Al-Aqsa flood, normally they're weirdos, just in case you don't know. But who executed the miraculous Al-Aqsa flood? Since is this person Muslim? Sorry.
How's it going, buddy?
After the stunning anti-colonial Al-Aqsa flood operation. Wait, Doobie is defending this article? Wait, what the? Wait, what? This person is Jewish? Are they like in real life anywhere? Has anybody ever seen this person? 36,000 followers. That's crazy. This is mega like coded. I say coded, but this is like very overtly like super anti-Semitic. Generally, I don't know if you call it Islamist or like weirdo. What do you call like the anti-colonially obsessed people or whatever?
You did. I was talking about how you sent me this article.
Brigades, men of honor and steel who rise from the subterranean below with homemade weapons and unshakable faith to strike fear and fatal blows into the hearts of the Zionist enemy. Where Jews snuffed out life, Al-Qassam breathed oxygen back into the body. This is the most shameful generation of Jews to ever exist. Not one of us can say we didn't know. We're spiritually hollow, morally eviscerated. Don't be selfish. Don't just selfishly say Israel doesn't represent all Jews. Fight for that distinction to be materially true by eradicating Zionism within Judaism. That is the only choice. When it comes to the evils of Zionism, Jews would rather lie to ourselves and self-deceive than take a modicum of responsibility beyond feeble, self-interested sloganeering. How long will Palestine and the region have to pay for our delusional denial, our unceasing rapturous violence, our refusal to take accountability for the ways we have destroyed so much life on this precious, precarious planet? Jews must destroy the Israeli state and the Zionist ideology in its entirety. It's every node and tentacle, including Israel's host colony, America, with a K.
Yeah,
I care more about Palestine than
Yes, All
Jews
article.
Jesus Christ.
This map shows roughly the northern half
percent type of armored vehicle carrier by.
These guys have the time to spray paint their bombs? There's no way this is a real video. I'm not believing it. I'm not believing it until I see something otherwise. Terrorist slut. Jesus Christ. Anyway,
I guess
all right, Doobie's defending the Yes All Jews article. Good luck, dude.
To be in the framing, right? So if, for example, if I were to say that all Catholics have a responsibility to target or to tackle the systemic abuse that was happening in the Catholic Church, which was a very common thing going on by Catholics, the Catholic community to target this or speak out against this. If they didn't, they were told to be like complicit because their silence was complicity. Very similar thing happens with Muslims after a terrorist attack, right? Muslim leaders are called to speak out against it, to condemn it, yada yada. And if they don't, this is taking this complicity in some way, right? So I think that this kind of like demand for some sense of like collective responsibility for a political ideology or the actions that arise because of a political ideology, this isn't really attacking the group for being the group or attacking.
Hey, I emailed my apartment people like 3 days ago, and I got a move out statement. They sent me another one today saying I owe them $863.77. Hell yeah. They saw the stream yesterday. They were watching. They were like, Oh shit, he caught onto it. Thank God.
Something inherent about the group itself. But it's more there's an issue. It's more that there is an issue within your community, and because you're part of this community, you have a responsibility to tackle that issue. Like, I think that is what she's doing, and I think that the way that the framing of total induced collectively responsible thing, I think that if they were to just hold to those words themselves, it'd be a double standard that we don't provide other communities, which would also be decent.
So you wouldn't consider, just to be clear, like, so let's use the terrorism example that you brought up with the Muslim community and things like that. You wouldn't think it to be Islamophobic or anti-Muslim to demand that every Muslim in a community, like say Dearborn, Michigan, condemn the actions of a terrorist group across the world. Like, so
Al Sharpton says Intifada, you can't quite say it, so he said the second
U.S. Marines, something like that.
Intifada.
And people go around to random Muslims in Dearborn, Michigan, and demand that they take a stand on this, right? You don't see any problem with that? You don't think that would be Islamophobic? I do. I think that would be very Islamophobic. I think that would be very anti-Muslim. I think that would be bigoted in a real way. Some guy in Dearborn, Michigan has nothing to do with Hezbollah or the Houthis. They have no real connection to them. They happen to share a religion, right? They happen maybe even to be from the same region, but that doesn't give us the right to demand that someone who has no real connection apologize or be held responsible for or condemn, right? They would be justified in telling anyone who told them.
Why just kidding?
That's the back.
Oh.
That they needed to condemn the actions of a group they're not connected to off. Do you disagree with that?
Yeah, I think that this is a misunderstanding of the Houthis even. Right? So the Houthis aren't committing terrorism, quote unquote. I don't think most of it's terrorism actually. Because of Islam, they're a militia group in a region of the world that's acting for political reasons, not because of Islam. Right? They have regional interests that they're fighting for and defending. Right? Well, hold on. Like Pete Hegseth says that we're fighting this war for God. Is that true? No, it's not true. Right? So the Christians,
who cares what retarded shit Pete Hegseth says?
That, which is why it would be
who cares if the Houthis are fighting? The Houthis are fighting for God or not. The fact of the matter is they're committing terrorist actions. That's what fucking matters.
An actual Christian, but that's another debate, right? But like, you would understand how it would be problematic. It would be bad. It would be bigoted to demand all Christians everywhere condemn that, something that is done in their name, but they have no connection.
No, I think they should. I think you should encourage Christians to condemn it. If their religion is being used to justify atrocities, I think people.
Yep, I knew that was coming.
For calling it out and cutting that rod out of the community. And I would say the same about Christian nationalism, right? So if there are evangelical churches where Christian nationalism is a problem and it's a massive issue growing in Christian communities in the U.S., I think it is a responsibility of these communities to police themselves and say that we are not part of this movement, and this movement is not Christianity. I think it's totally fine to say this, and I don't think it's bigoted in any way. I think inter-community critique, intra-community critique is totally normal. It's something that happens across all other communities. I really don't understand why we have a specific carve out for religion or for Jews in this case.
So I think that intra-community critique can be done in ways that are perfectly fine and perfectly valid. I don't necessarily, as a concept, think like if I was to critique Mormonism or streamers, right? We'll use streamers as a group, right? I can call it like I think streamers have been very negative in how they deal with the mentally ill, right? I think that they use them for clicks, for views, all these things. I think they exploit them in many ways. I think that streamers as a whole kind of do this.
Yeah,
it would be wrong to then hold an individual streamer who has not done this responsible in any way, shape, or form to demand that they renounce this kind of behavior. It would be putting a burden on them that they do not deserve and do not share because they haven't engaged in that behavior. They haven't done it. And I'm against collective punishment as a whole. And I think that what this article is calling for, in a very real way, is a collective punishment to Jews as a whole, to Judaism as a whole. I mean, it has, you can go through the quotes if you like, but it talks several times about how if a Jew wants the target to be off their back, they have to enthusiastically support the Al-Qasim brigades to praise the glory and miracle of October 7th. Burdens that we would never put on any other group, or we should not put on any other group. And if they are to be put on any other group, we would rightly call them out as bigoted. But because, for whatever reason, Israel breaks people's brains, we think it's okay to call on some Jewish guy in Brooklyn and hold them responsible for what's happening in Israel. And they're not. They're simply not.
But this isn't true. It's giving multiple examples where exactly this kind of structure is applied. And we have no issues with that. So why keep it?
Yo.
I am Albert Wesker.
What?
I am Albert Wesker.
Okay. Cool. We're watching a discussion about pretty crazy article. You should jump on the stream and watch with us.
No, I just came in to say hi, that's it. I'm saving for a gaming PC.
Hey, that's awesome. Aurora's about to step back on. You can say hi.
Oh, look at that.
But if you guys are feeling like having a long chat, I would humbly request you do it in another room because I'm definitely paying close attention to this video. And I don't want to be rude and like talk over you guys or whatever, so.
No, you're not. No, you're not. Don't worry. Don't worry, Goldilocks.
Yeah, it's very sweet. Thank you. Why did you leave? You just left. Okay. Okay. I added a pretty sweet mod to this, Daniel. Let me show you.
I just gave you multiple examples where exactly this kind of structure is applied, and we have no issue with it. So white people, for example, when Obama said that all white people have a responsibility to tackle racism, when Biden said that racism is a white man's problem, right? I don't think that they're like anti-white bigots for this.
Statements to make.
No, that's silly.
They were facially bigoted statements today. To say that all white men carry the burden of racism is something that we have as a society largely begun to reject. We adopted it because we're crazy for some reasons, and we wanted to overlook that bigotry. But it is a form of bigotry. It is a form of racism, and it was rightfully called out by a lot of people. Even when my side does it, quote unquote my side, right? Even when Obama does it, even when Biden does it, those are bigoted, racist statements, and they should not be made.
Okay, so to be clear, you believe that when Obama and Biden said that there is a racism issue in the white community, there's a growing white nationalist issue in the white community, and because of this because white people are also part of this community, they have a responsibility to call it out and push it out of their community. You think that that statement makes them bigots, makes them like anti-white?
I don't think that alone would do it. I think that when you start to hold them responsible if they don't, then it becomes a problem. So again, in this article, I think you're soft selling. The author does not simply say all Jews have a responsibility to call out Judaism or to call out Israel for its actions, its genocide in Palestine, for its terrible behavior in a lot of other ways, apartheid, whatever. Right? She goes much further than. I'm going to read you a couple of these quotes. Okay? We Jews are the fascistic overlords, the vicious propagandists and funders, the militarized soldiers, settlers. Modern Judaism reflects terrorism, slaughter, blood. Do
you think Doobie actually believes in any of this shit, or is he just doing it for the love of the game? For everybody that is on this weirdo, Gisticle, Queeman, Perry, Chud Logic, Doobie, like on that team, all of them have 100% thrown their hat in, basically with like the Hassan political system. So whatever Hassan says, these people will carry that as far as they possibly can. So whatever Hassan's beliefs are on this, obviously Hassan doesn't think anti-Semitism is a real thing unless it comes from white nationalists or whatever else they're going to believe. So Doobie will have to take whatever that position is, along with the rest of them in this community. Like I said, yeah.
Sadism, organ theft, Jews out well.
Isn't just go right wing? He was. That's where he came from. But now they all pretend to be communists or lefties or whatever because they all have to dig right Hassan.
In an animate age of totalitarian Judaism. This is, on its face, an essentializing statement that we would not apply to any other group. Or if it is applied to any other group, we would absolutely call it out for being bigoted and racist and essentializing. So, for example, if Biden had said, we whites are the fascistic overlords, the vicious propagandists and funders, the militarized soldier, colonial settlers, right? Modern white.
One thing you also need to keep in mind here, too, we have abandoned way too much social issue speak. It's very, very, very hard here to compare whites and Jews. Very different groups of people with very different statuses in society, with very different amounts of power. Like,
Destiny read through this article that we looked at the other day that's like super crazy self-hating Jew, anti-Semitic. Says the title of it is literally "Yes, All Jews." We're fucking crazy things. So we're getting rage baited a little bit. Would love for you to join and watch with us and throw in your commentary. So we're watching.
I gotta figure that out because like my login for that's like on my other phone.
Oh.
I don't know what I don't have that right now. Let me see if I can try and figure it out.
Yeah, meanwhile, I'm building stuff in KSP, which is fun. Always fun.
So you're listening to Destiny read aloud and a self-hating Jew article? Is that what I heard?
Yeah, so this is an article that Daniel had already sent me the other day, so I've already read through it. So I'm just watching his commentary on it because, well, it's also, there's a discussion between Doobie and Wick TV where they're talking about this article as well, and it's very interesting.
What is the importance of this article, or is it just something that was found?
It was in the Atlantic. Wait, where was it? Was it the Atlantic? I think it was the Atlantic.
Okay.
Good question.
Or no, it was a Substack, but this person is like a lot of followers and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anti-whiteness, well, I guess unless you're like a alt-righter or a Nazi or whatever, anti-whiteness is not really like a threat to the white race, whatever that even means. It's not a threat that much to white people. It's problematic and it's worth addressing and calling out, but it exists in a way different way and on a way different level than like anti-Semitism against Jewish people. So like to compare these two things, when you start to go to that analogy immediately, you're losing a bit of why one thing might matter and why one thing might not matter as much.
Whites reflect terror, slaughter, blood, sadism, organ theft. Yeah, that would be racist. That would be super.
Daniel says it's a manifesto that's blown up on leftist Twitter saying all Jews are guilty.
I would use some language she uses. That doesn't make it anti-Semitic. It doesn't make it like bigoted. What it seems to me is that, hold on, so what she's actually doing is identifying an issue within our community, saying we're not doing enough to fight this issue, and because we're not doing enough, we're complicit. Which is again the same structure that was used to say that all men have responsibility to fight culture, for example. All white people have responsibility to fight racism. All Catholics have responsibility to fight systemic abuse in the Catholic Church. All Muslims have responsibility to attack terrorist ideologies in their communities or jihadism in their communities. Like this is very similar to all these other. I mean, Jewish prophets were extremely critical of their community in way more inflammatory language than she used. Would you say that they're anti-Semitic because they call their community vipers? They call Israel a community of vipers.
And that's the problem here. Is the trick you're doing here, where you try to kind of like jump from this is just harsh critique, and I think you jump over the other step that they are doing. They aren't just using harsh words to identify people who have engaged in behaviors that they find reprehensible. They are saying that all Jews are not only responsible to call this out, but responsible for it. And there's a sensitive difference saying.
I don't understand how Doobie is still kept in the politics sphere after he said he coupled his politics server, or he cooed his politics server for another guy, because Doobie pays thousands of dollars to all these streamers in donations. He admits it himself. He does. Like this is not like a wild conspiracy. Yeah.
You have a responsibility as a member of a group to condemn X, Y, or Z. There's problems with that. I have problems with that. But she goes further than that, and she's not only says not only.
Do Hassan viewers watch Gisticle, or is that a different group? No, definitely not. No.
You have a responsibility to call this out, but you're guilty of this. You're responsible for this, and you deserve to pay for this.
Do you think it was wrong to impose denazification on Germans after World War II?
No, I don't think it was wrong to impose.
Why didn't that hold all Germans collectively responsible for Nazism?
I think that if
Jewish supremacy / Zionism is absolutely a real thing. It's in their Talmud. They literally think they're the chosen people. It's not a secret. Don't all religious people think they're the chosen people? Isn't that kind of the point of being part of the correct religion? Is you think that your religion is the right one and you're the people who are going to heaven and everything? Wait, it's not kind of like essential for at least the Abrahamic religions? No?
If they were like shooting people who hadn't done anything, then that's a problem, right? Or if they were calling on the death of people or to imprison people in Germany who had not engaged in any of the Nazi rhetoric, who had not participated in Nazi rhetoric. Because, well, let me ask you this. In the denazification of Germany, do you think it would have been okay to demand an American German face that same denazification? Like someone who lived in America all their lives, hadn't even been to Germany?
Basically, Daniel says, basically the crux is that, in her own words, to prove oneself as not being a Zionist, one has to take the target off one's own back as a Jew by calling for the destruction of Israel and the U.S. and praising Hamas on October 7th.
No, but I think that you're...
Okay, but that's what she's doing with the Jews.
No, really quickly. No, because...
But most people, or most religions, want others to be converted. And that's true. Judaism is not a proselytizing one. They don't like invite other people. That's true, sure. Oh, if that's what you mean by chosen people, like ethnic group or whatever, maybe, sure.
What she's talking about isn't Israel itself. She's talking about Zionism, the ideology of Zionism. And if you were to look at I think there have been polls on this, and like over 90% of Jews consider themselves Zionists, or consider that, or support the existence of a Jewish state, right? So she's attacking Israel, right? Not just the state of Israel, but that ideology.
I wonder why over 90% of Jews support the existence of a Jewish state.
It would make sense to
wonder why.
Responsibility to condemn Nazism, right? If there was an issue with German Americans identifying as Nazis and supporting Hitler, then yes.
But here's the problem with what you just said, though, right? You mentioned that 90% or whatever percentage I think you used, I think it was 90%, support the existence of a Jewish state.
The problem is this really has to come down to a this is going to come down to really an Israel-Palestine debate, because the response to this is like being pro-Zionist is not the same as being a Nazi, but because Nazism seems to necessitate the conquering of other states and peoples, but then Doobie would probably argue, well, the project of Zionism necessitates the genocide of the Palestinian people. I don't know if you would argue that, and then we'd have to go to that point next.
That does not necessarily imply support for what Israel is doing, or even support for Israel where it's at and how it exists now, right? I can support a Jewish state and also say, well, I think Israel's an ethno state. I think what they're doing is horrific, and they probably should be disbanded. You can believe both things. These are not contradictory. Again, she's doing this thing where she conflates that anyone who's even neutral towards Israel, or even condemns it but doesn't raise the rapes and murders that have been engaged against it, is a Zionist. She calls you a Zionist, Doobie.
Yeah, so I don't think that she believes that there were rapes and murders on October 7th. So I read some of her other work. It seems like she doesn't believe. She thinks it's like the bullshit narrative pushed by Israel. And I think there's some strong evidence that did happen. I do believe that there were rapes, of course, but I think it's also true that there were opportunists and liars who exploited that fact and exaggerated that fact to make money or to push like an anti-Palestinian narrative. So she doesn't believe that those things happened. I disagree with her. I think some of that did happen. I don't think there's mass rapes, but absolutely some people were raped. Right?
I think. Well, what would you call someone who denied the Holocaust, who denied that Jews were being killed in camps in the Holocaust? What would you call that person?
I think there's far more evidence the Holocaust happened than there were like mass rapes on October 7th, which is the narrative that she's combating.
Okay, I think that you're correct technically that yes, there is more evidence on the Holocaust. Yes, that is true. But I think that there is compelling and damning evidence about what Hamas did on October 7th. There's video evidence that we have from multiple sources. Hamas video themselves doing these. We have this evidence. It's strong. The UN has come out with reports detailing this evidence, and we can quibble on some of the details here and there. But I think that someone who still denies that Hamas killed and raped people on October 7th, that in and of itself is anti-Semitic in a big way. Do you disagree?
Yeah, why? Like, so using the definition that you brought up earlier.
I'm going to refer to the definition we used earlier, right? Like when you were denying atrocities against a group, in this case the Jewish group, again, combine that with the saying they need to be punished for the...
This is the whole thing. I don't think there's other stuff that's at play here. Denying the Holocaust doesn't necessarily make you anti-Semitic. The reason why Holocaust denial usually is anti-Semitic, and by usually like 99.9% of the time, is because you don't deny the Holocaust because you think that the historical facts are incorrect. You deny the Holocaust because you think that Jewish scholars have intentionally manipulated the record in order to foment mass sympathies for the Jewish people, in order to allow them to step into all the different sects of societies, to have the levers of power under their control, to ensure the the success and the thriving of the Jewish people in America and in Israel. That's why Holocaust denialism is anti-Semitic. Some guys are like, oh, I don't think the Holocaust numbers are real. You're like, what? Really? Why is that? And you're like, I don't know. I think that everything in World War II was like, really dropped atomic bombs or whatever. Like, that person's that's not really anti-Semitism, but generally when people are engaged in Holocaust denialism, usually they believe that the only reason why the Holocaust is talked about is because of like what the argument that Finkelstein makes in his book. Is it the Holo hoax or whatever? No. I think that's a 6-hour crazy weirdo alt-right documentary. Is it the Holocaust industry? What is the name of the Finkelstein book? What's it called? The Holocaust industry? Yeah, is that Jews push this and artificially inflate the importance of the Holocaust in order to make it so we can never criticize them. That's usually why Holocaust denialism is part of anti-Semitism.
It's a way to hold them accountable and to deny any kind of...
No way, there's even docs for those.
If you do wrong against that group, we're going to cover it up for you. We're going to deny that ever happened. It's anti-Semitic in nature. Do you not understand that?
No, I think that you were pretending that she doesn't actually believe that these things didn't happen. She's only saying that they didn't happen because she hates Jews. I think she actually
you do get shuttlecraft.
At least the extreme claims of like mass on October 7th.
Look, there's even the little inspection pods that fly around.
Speeches. There's huge crowds of people that were later supposed to totally lie about their involvement and what they did and who they saved and all this kind of shit. So I think totally reason would be like suspicious of that narrative. And if she believes that the narrative is totally made up, either because she hasn't seen enough evidence or because she's seen evidence of people lying about this, I don't think that's anti-Semitic.
I do not think that she would accept any evidence. And the reason I don't think that is because I think she is anti-Semitic. And the reason I think she's anti-Semitic is because she's essentializing all Jews, holding them all responsible. She's praising Hamas, the glorious Al-Qasim brigade. Right? Hamas has called for the death of all Jews, right? All of them, right? Globally.
Hold on, that's not.
I'll read you some quotes.
No, you're gonna like the 80s or something. But
these conversations where someone defending something that another believes never seem fruitful. It's like people defending Trump because he believes he won the election. Yeah, true. This is why I'm much more harsh now on judging people by their audiences, because you can sit here and have these stupid games about like what does a person believe and to try to figure that out. But it's like, okay, well, what does their audience say? Because that will give you a real indication for where their beliefs are. And you can't. And the whole audience won't be together with you trying to bullshit some optics narrative. Whereas you might like try to bullshit your way through some interview or to make your view more palatable on some media piece or whatever. Like what Doobie is trying to do to sane wash this other lady's perspective.
I'm not going to play much with these right now. I'm going to save it more for later in the save file. But it's just cool to build it and take a look. But later on in the save file, once I'm like late game, I'm gonna play
unhinged, anti-Semitic, either lefties or Muslims or whatever else, you know.
Yeah, read about 2019 because I know that recently. I think even like before
7 million Palestinians abroad.
Before and after. Let me finish my before and after October 7th, there were like Hamas spokespeople saying that that their fight is not with Jews, it is with Israel. It was with the Zionist entity.
Okay, well, here's what Fatih Hamad, the senior Hamas official, said in 2019. He said, "You 7 million Palestinians abroad. There are Jews everywhere. We must attack every Jew on planet Earth. That's all of them, Doobie. We must slaughter and kill them with Allah's help. We will die while exploding and cutting the necks and legs off the Jews. We will lacerate them and tear them to pieces. Again, every Jew on planet Earth. It's anti-Semitic."
Yeah, I believe that this man wants to kill all Jews.
Yes.
Their official position before and after.
I wonder if Doobie thinks, a question for Wick to ask. I'm not current on this, I won't debate him, or I won't do him. Maybe I will. When we catch up, I'll ask. Does Doobie think Trump's 7 Muslim majority state ban was Islamophobic? Question mark. Does he think Trump is Islamophobic? Question mark.
October 7th is that their fight is with Israel, not Jews.
Okay.
That has been their stated position for years. Again, before and after October 7th. I agree with this guy wants to kill all Jews, 100%.
That is their stated goal. Hamas's stated goal is to kill all the Jews.
Okay, that is this man's
They have softened some of their official language for propaganda purposes, but that is what they believe. And that is what they have said over and over and over again. In official publications.
That's not true, he says.
This is Ghazi Hamad, a Hamas political official. He says, he vowed repeatedly to annihilate Israel and continue October 7th style attacks time and time again until Israel is annihilated. In 2012, Sheikh Ahmad Bar says, "Oh Allah, destroy the Jews and their supporters. Oh Allah, count them one by one and kill them all without leaving a single one." They're anti-Semitic, Doobie.
Wait, I do realize what you're doing right now. So
what am I doing right now?
I'm going to tell you.
I do realize what you're doing. Oh my God, dude.
And speeches by Israeli government officials and Jewish leaders and here in the United States and politicians in the United States openly advocating for the killing of all Palestinians. Right? So, do you think
for the killing of all Palestinians? Even Ben Gvir and Smoltrich are usually a little bit more careful with their language. But okay.
It's like reasonable for me to say because you support Israel. That means you're supporting a government that wants to kill all the Palestinians, and therefore you're
I do not think
then why are you
that is reasonable because we have plenty of evidence that they haven't killed all Palestinians. However, we have evidence that Hamas, when they get the opportunity, will kill every single Jew that they can get their hands on. We have evidence of these things, right? And so again, like I think that someone can support the idea of Israel and condemn the leadership of Israel, and I don't think that it's anti-Semitic to condemn Israel even, right? But we're not talking about just condemning Israel here. We're going further than that, and we're holding every Jew on earth responsible for Israel, and that's what makes us anti-Semitic.
Okay, look, I feel like your beliefs about Israel are clouding your thinking on this. Because to be clear, when people support Israel, right? So if a Jewish person says I support Israel, or you say I support Israel, you're not just supporting like a random ass nation somewhere on the planet. You're supporting a state that's actively committing ethnic cleansing. Has been doing this for 5 decades now, by the way. Is accused of genocide, very likely has committed genocide.
Oh my
it's a
God,
long history of human rights violations, rape, torture, murder of children, women, men that they've held in detention with no charges. They just passed a law, that allows them to kill specifically Palestinians, right? And not Jewish people, specifically Palestinians, death by hanging.
What kind of Palestinians? All Palestinians? Hold on, no, let's
Does anybody? Do people think this law? Not to defend the law, but do people think the law is just like you can just murder Palestinians or whatever? Is
Talk about that law. What kind of law?
Yes.
So Palestinians, they believe, have killed somebody.
That is exactly
death penalty for Palestinians. That is problematic. But you notice how you frame that? You notice how dishonest that framing was? That you said, well, this is all Palestinians. The death Palestinians law.
I didn't say they want to kill Palestinians, death Palestinians law.
You said they passed a law allowing them to kill
Palestinians. Yes.
Yes, but that leaves out a lot of important context and
sorry.
implies something that is just
charged with a crime. Just charged.
Do you think the law's okay?
Charged?
No, I don't. I'm not supporting that law. But when we criticize something, it's important we be accurate how we criticize something.
I agree.
And therefore, when you support context your
when you
criticism,
support
it
something,
feels dishonest.
When you support something, I think it's important to be specific about what you're supporting. And you and other people who support the existence of Israel in its current form, or believe in or support Zionism, are supporting a nation that is doing all the evils I just laid out, right? And it's continuing to do more evil, and not just in Gaza or the West Bank, but also in southern Lebanon right now, where they're openly ethnically cleansing the Shia Muslim. They're telling Christian and Jewish leaders to kick the Shia Muslims out of their community.
Because you support Palestine, does that mean you support October 7th?
No, obviously not.
So, because I support Israel, even though I don't, right? I just don't want to see it wiped off the face of the earth, right? Because I support Israel under that framing, does not mean I support every single law they pass or what they do in Gaza.
What do you mean you support Israel? Like, what does that mean?
I think that the people of Israel have the right to self-determination and should have the right to self-determination, and that they shouldn't be forcibly excised from the area, nor should they be killed. I think Israel has a right, quote unquote, to exist. I don't like what it's doing in Gaza. I condemn it. I don't like how it's conducted itself during this war. I don't like how it's conducted itself prior to the war in many cases. But this isn't a conversation about what I support or don't support about Israel. This is a conversation where we are wondering if someone who, again, has no support for Israel, has no connection to Israel, who happens to be Jewish in California, has any responsibility for what Israel does or does not do. This article says that they do bear responsibility and that they are Zionists and that they have a target on their back, okay? I condemn that language. It's essentializing. It's putting the responsibility for something someone did across the globe on someone who has no connection and no, they have no say in this, right? They have no responsibility here. They should not be condemned for it.
To make Doobie successfully is know how he operates. What Wicked knows how to fall into from what I know is Doobie is a great debater because of rage bait. And it calms down to this moment to lose their
Genuine Jewish
emotional
anti-Zionists unwaveringly support the total eradication of Israel and the greater Satan, America, the full land back without a speck of Zionist or Euro-American imperialist seller colonial control. This includes Jews supporting removing fellow Jews from Palestine while ensuring they don't do harm where they go further displace indigenous peoples elsewhere. So not only is she saying that unless you want to destroy Israel, destroy America, ethnically cleanse the Jews from Palestine, which by she means all of Israel, right? Gaza, West Bank, and Israel proper, right? And that these Jews are so dangerous that you have to be careful where you put them because they're going to just do it again because Jews are like that, right? That's what she's saying.
She doesn't say Jews are like that.
That is obviously the implication of the statement.
No, the implication is that if they leave the area, she doesn't want there to be a new Israel made, a new ethnic state imposed on some other group of people. Right? That is what she's saying. She's not saying Jews just do this to people. She's saying our community has adopted and latched onto, or I think she said that the ideology latched onto the community, and we're not doing that to fight this ideology, which is toxic and poisonous and genocidal and racist. And she thinks that every Jew has a responsibility to fight this thing. And if you do fight this thing, she's your ally. She's Jewish. I'm sure she doesn't think that she is unsalvageable and she just needs to be killed or whatever the fuck. She believes that there are other Jews like her who are already fighting this evil, right? And she's calling on all Jews to fight this evil. And the way that a Christian pastor might call on all Christians to fight Christian nationalism, or a German leader might call on all Germans to fight Nazism. It's the ideology she's attacking. And she believes this ideology is dominating her community in every institution in her community.
But the way she is attacking the ideology is to demand that people who are unconnected to that ideology, who have no responsibility for that ideology, be held responsible for that. $5 just real quick from It's Vishy to say, I can't help but think Doobie may be anti-Semitic or does not care if people are. The last 3 paragraphs of that Substack is inarguably anti-Jewish. It's throughout the whole language from start to finish is collective punishment, essentializing it, and tying it intrinsically the actions of Israel to every single Jew on earth. And that is blatant, something we would never accept. Like, well, let me just ask you, if I wrote an article called Yes, All Palestinians, and said all Palestinians have blood guilt for what Hamas has done on October 7th, they should all be forced to answer for it, no matter if they live in the West Bank, no matter if they live in Gaza, no matter if they live in America and have never seen Palestine at all, they're all guilty, they all have a target on their back, yes, all Palestinians. You would call that bigoted, and you would be correct to do so. I am just saying that when she does this to Jews, it's the same thing, and should be condemned equally.
Okay, this is interesting because that is a common critique of Palestinians that we hear from Zionists like you, which is that Palestinians need to attack radicalism in their communities and in their population. They need to reject that radicalism. They need to lift up peaceful leaders, reject violence, and all these things. They need to reject Hamas, they need to rise against Hamas. And if they haven't done this, well, they're just not doing enough. And this is why Israel will fucking bomb them. Like, that's your position. That's
That's not my position. I've never called on. You don't think Palestinians lives in Michigan, who's never set foot on Palestine, who's never even talked about Israel, who's never even talked about Gaza, who's never even doesn't really fucking I've never not once said that they were responsible in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, again, we're disconnected again from the reality of Zionist identification of Jews and of Jews who say that they believe in Jews. Right? So if it were true that the majority of Palestinians, even in Dearborn, supported Hamas, for example, or supported radicalism or violence against Israel, or the total destruction of Israel and killing of all Jews in Israel in some way, then it would be reasonable to say that yeah, if you're not one of the people who supports this, because this evil is within your community, you have a responsibility to call it out and to cut it from your community. Right? So, and again, this brings me back to the German thing, because like the collective guilt standard was like it's what came out of the Holocaust. This was written by Holocaust survivors, or the Nuremberg laws, the denazification programs. This was applied to all Germans, regardless of their support for Hitler, because the standard was that all Germans.
It was not applied to Germans in America. Okay. It was not applied to Germans who lived in other countries. This denazification of Germany only applied to those who lived in Germany. This article is doing, it's implying, it's not just implying, it's outright stating. It's outright stating that every single one of the Jews who live on earth are responsible, and they are simply not. That is essentializing language. You would never expect it or accept it in any other context.
Taking a break to read a BPD message. Hold on. Based on conversations with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Field Marshal Asim Munir of Pakistan, and wherein they requested that I hold off the destructive force being sent tonight to Iran, and subject to the Islamic Republic of Iran agreeing to the complete, immediate, and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz, I agree to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. The magical 2-week time period has arisen again. This will be a double-sided ceasefire. As opposed to what is a single-sided ceasefire? The reason for doing so is that we have already met and exceeded all military objectives and are very far along with a definitive agreement concerning long-term peace with Iran and peace in the Middle East. We received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it is a workable basis on which to negotiate. Almost all of the various points of the past contention have been agreed to between the U.S. and Iran, but a 2-week period will allow the agreement to be finalized and consummated.
So
on
this
behalf
is
of the United
the
States of
Enterprise
America
A.
as president and also representing the countries of the Middle East, it is an honor to have this long-term problem close to resolution. Thank you for your attention this matter. President Donald J. Trump.
I don't understand why this is so
We
hard
have accepted it in other contexts. Like it's like you have a specific carve out for Jews for some reason.
No, I would say this about Palestinians. I would say this about whites. I would say this about blacks. I would say this about Muslims.
Any other group? DEI is bigoted?
Do I think DEI is bigoted? It can be, yes.
Oh,
Do you think it is? You think anti-racist?
You have to point out that the special.
How much does it cost?
The reality
$20
is that like regardless of what you think about it, I mean, you can have You can even think that Israel shouldn't exist as a state. I mean, like there are ways that you could defend this, but the existence of Jewish people in the Middle East is a unique situation, and you do have to account for that uniqueness because it does do a little bit to inform some of the arguments. Like Islamophobia in the Middle East is going to be different than like anti-Semitism in the Middle East, right? Like it's just because of the nature of how many people are there, who lives where, whatever else. You know, you have to account for those populations. We're taking for granted how it exists in the West right now.
Well,
that
makes
yes,
sense.
if you are saying that all black people, right, or that all white people, I should say, all white people
only 20 million.
need to step aside or to bear a burden because of something they did not do, that's a little bit bigoted.
That is literally DEI. It's the idea that because white people have white privilege, which I'm sure you also think is bigoted, I guess, because white privilege exists within the white community, then all white people are generalized and essentialized, quote unquote, and that they are treated differently in hiring practices. That is.
I've been wondering what the conflict/drama is in regards to you and Dean Withers. Can you explain it briefly? Dean and Parker, I think we're largely inspired by me to start doing online debate and stuff. They told me as much. I think they've said it publicly, not as much recently. We had a dinner where we hung out after a Jubilee event. It was a nice dinner. Everything was fine. But then afterwards, I think Hassan got wind that Dean and Parker had chatted with me, and he showed up on at least one of their lives to kind of throw his presence around. And then all of Dean's audience, who are all insanely far left, socialists or uber progressives, all started saying that I was like a neo-Nazi evil person. And so Dean decided to rewrite our dinner and say, me and Parker realized that when we had dinner with Destiny, he was actually a really evil person. And so we distanced ourselves after that dinner, which was really weird because nothing bad or anything happened at that dinner. It was a super normal, friendly dinner. And then I eventually confronted him about it on another stream, and then he just walked everything back and just I don't know, it's just another audience capture, whatever else. But he's also like 20 years old, so it's whatever. It is what it is.
It's DEI. That is exactly what you're saying. So you believe that it is.
Do you think that's the same? You believe that the concept of white privilege, that every Jew has a target on their back?
Do you believe that the concept of white privilege? Okay,
hold on, do you think these are the equivalent things?
If you look at the context of that, Wick, she's talking. Not she's not saying they're going to be killed.
What context changes immediately?
Okay, just read it. So
Okay,
when
we'll
she's
read
talking
it.
about the
Let's go.
target on the back, the context, if I remember correctly, is like Nuremberg. Is like, hey, you're supporting political ideology. You need to be held responsible for supporting this political ideology.
Okay, so I'm going to read.
Hold on, wait, really quickly. And this is very similar, I think, to the way that you and Destiny and others talk about MAGA, right? How they all need to be held responsible for supporting Trump. It's the exact same shit.
Whoa, hold on
Which is
a
another
minute
toxic
there.
ideology. That
I want you to go back.
I feel like I've specified a billion times. Sometimes I'll be hyperbolic, but if I'm ever pushed on it, I don't think I've ever said the voters need to be held accountable. I think I almost always say I'm talking about the elected leaders, I'm talking about the propaganda people, not like the voters.
One second, there's another toxic ideology that you think the Republican Party itself and any Republican has a responsibility to cut out of their party.
I want you to go back and I want you to watch the discussions between me and Destiny on what we should do about MAGA. And I guarantee you that we have a very different opinion. I argue, in fact, that not all MAGA or Trump voters should be held responsible, and not even all Republican politicians should be held responsible for the actions of Trump. I explicitly argue this. So for you to say that my position is that we should essentialize and hold them responsible, and that's, again, forgetting that MAGA in and of itself is something you buy into. It's not something you're born into.
So is
born
Zionism.
MAGA.
So
there's differences there, but you're just wrong on its face. So you're wrong to compare the two.
Zionism is not something you just buy into.
Hold on. Let me read the context of this target on the back thing. Okay? It says,
what a
many will say,
surprise.
Like these comparisons
Honestly,
are just
are we
not
really
working.
surprised?
Like it just doesn't make any sense. Like oh, you think it's bad to be anti-Zionist, but I've heard you defend over and over again Frodo's decision to drop the ring into Mount Doom, knowing that it would cause Sauron's entire army to die, and you didn't have any sympathy for the people fighting on that. Like these are like expressly evil people. All of them are evil. The orcs and all that shit, they're evil. It's a totally different thing, right? Like how are you comparing MAGA, a political ideology that people can willingly choose that isn't necessarily tied to any race or ethnicity? How are you comparing MAGA to Jews? Like this is so stupid. Like this comparison falls apart for so many different reasons. It doesn't work. It's totally disanalogous.
The argument I put forth unfairly puts a target on Jewish people's backs. You're still missing the point. We support genocidal Zionism across the entirety of our faith.
Do you think the IP conflict is astroturfed? Why do I hear so much more about it than Ukraine or Sudan, for example? Because Americans do not care about foreign policy. I would say by nature they're more selfish, but the reality is we are geographically so far away from everything that we just don't really care. So the only time we talk about foreign policy is when somebody sees it as a useful vehicle to sell some point or ideology to you. This is why Hassan Piker took 2 years after October 7th to learn where the Western Wall was, despite claiming he'd covered Israel-Palestine for a decade before that. This is why nobody knows the details of literally anything about recent or far history between Israel and Palestine. Nobody knows anything about it. It's because it's just a useful vehicle for them to sell their political ideology. Americans don't actually give a fuck about foreign policy. That's why we don't hear anything about Ukraine, or why we don't really hear much about the other Middle Eastern countries or what's going on with them. It's just whenever people want to sell a particular idea. That's why you heard so much about, you never hear anything about all of the intra-conflict going on in Yemen, but you sure as fuck heard about Saudi Arabia and their war and their coalition when they were going down to bomb people in Yemen. But other than that, yeah, that's just how it goes.
We put the target on ourselves and can take it off by relinquishing genocidal Zionism and asserting principled anti-Zionism. But more fundamentally, we aren't the victims targeted by Zionism. We are the perpetrators of it. The real target are those material placed on Palestinians by Israelis. This is, again, essentializing language. She's saying all Jews support genocidal Zionism across the entirety of our faith. And that's just not true.
Well, Wick, what does essentializing mean to you?
Essentializing is when you say all Jews are X, or all blacks are Y, or all whites are Z. That's essentializing. You're taking a group, and you're saying every member of that group is the same. They're essentially the same.
Okay. So if I were to say that Democrats hold liberal values, right? Do you think that'd be essentializing?
Can you say that one more time?
Democrats hold liberal values.
No, but you have to hold liberal.
Well, no, fuck. Doobie is such a bad. I don't know if he's bad faith or just stupid. And then Wick is not. Wick is also being stupid.
He's both.
So, essentializing is not
Doobie.
bad. It's okay to essentialize. You can even essentialize when it comes to race.
Yeah, like there's nothing wrong. Because I was gonna say, like, Democrats all hold liberal values.
Their
yeah,
skin color needs to be dark. I can essentialize that. It's definitionally true. I can essentialize that for, I don't know, for characteristics for gingers, they have to have red hair. It's in the name of the thing, right? The problem is when you essentialize personality traits or other things that aren't truly essential to the person or the race of people or whatever, to that thing. You can essentialize. Everything has to have something essential to it. Otherwise, we would have no categories. You can't say that you can't essentialize anything because then no category exists. Otherwise, there's no thing to separate one thing from another. You can essentialize traits to Democrats. Some would be improper, like races, but others would be proper, like ideas. It's okay to essentialize ideas to categories of things because some things have to be essential to the category for the category to exist.
Be essentializing. So if I were to say that Democrats hold liberal values, right? Do you think that'd be essentializing?
It is, but it's okay.
Democrats hold liberal values.
You should
no, but you have to hold liberal
values
values to be a Democrat. It's not an ethnicity, and these are different things.
Okay, Wick is kind of there. He could have just said yes, but he's kind of there. Okay, yeah,
ideology
it's different.
Buy into. If I said all Zionists believe in Zionism, then yes, that would be correct.
Oh, good. Okay, never mind. He generally got there. He got there. I think he should have answered yes on the first one, but okay, he got there.
If I said all of a certain ethnicity believed in Zionism, that would be incorrect. You understand the difference?
Okay, but Wick, no, because the vast majority of Jews. I'm getting there, Wick, because the vast majority of Jews are Zionists, and in fact, what you read out, she specifically says that if you want to, they want to take the target off their backs, and again, she's talking.
The problem too is what do we mean by Zionist? Because that's another word.
Yeah, that's the big issue. Is like now, Zionist has been twisted into like, you know, Kahanist, like fucking crazy far right Israeli points of view. And like, you know, leftists are just plain happy. Like, even when you tell them that's not what it means, they're just plain happy to be like, fuck you, that's what it means now, you piece of shit. These are the same people saying not all Muslims are terrorists. Fuck these people.
Nuremberg trials.
To be clear, I am not saying all Muslims are terrorists. I'm pointing out the hypocrisy in their ability to say that, but not say the same thing about Zionism. Just so we're clear.
That they need to reject Zionism. They need to relinquish Zionism and adopt principled anti-Zionism. Right. So she is specifically saying, hey, this isn't inherent to who Jews are. The Jews can change. My community can change and can be better. This is how to be better. So this is not we're evil because we're Jews. Again, the entire push of the article is this toxic, evil ideology has attached itself to our community, and all of our institutions are in support of it, and like 90-something% of Jews are in support of this thing, and it's our responsibility to cut that evil out. So this is her specifically saying that there is a way out because Jews are not intrinsically evil, because this is not how our community should be or has been. In fact, she talks about like Jews historically and how they've attacked exactly this kind of concept and exactly this kind of evil. Right. So she's not saying that the Jewish community is evil because they're Jews. She's saying that the Jewish community has adopted an evil ideology and she wants them to kick it out.
Okay, I'm going to read you some quotes here.
Uh-oh.
Okay. I've come to have tremendous disdain for my people, the evil we have wrought, and the demons we have become. Our craven hypocrisy, our Holocaust hand-wringing, our selfish dissociation, both sides catatonic inaction,
like,
evil sign-waving,
not even
condemnation,
hiding
victim
it,
complex,
just straight up like,
betrayals, brazen
I hate our people.
self-centeredness, exploitative careerism, blood and soil racism, liberal cowardice, empty platitudes amidst mountains of Palestinian corpses. Again, she's making no distinction between Zionists, right, in her community or her people, and in the Judaism as a whole, calling them demons, that they have become demons. That is an anti-Semitic trope, that when you say all Jews are responsible for, collectively, for the actions of some Jews. That is classic anti-Semitism. It's something that she does again and again throughout the article. She links Jews to the forces of evil, right? And say, again, not just Zionists, right? Not just people in Israel, right? Not just Israel supporters, but all Jews everywhere because they happen to be born Jewish.
No, look, that's not true. Because she's not saying, you
understand. You don't have to say that she doesn't have to say that
they're anti-Zionist Jews, doesn't she?
That there's some gene or something wrong with
she acknowledge
Jewish
they're
blood
anti-Zionist
to be
Jews?
anti-Semitic. She can, if you are saying that every Jew everywhere has been indoctrinated into this, they have no choice, right? That is an anti-Semitic thing to say. It's wrong and anti-Semitic. It's saying that all Jews have this collective responsibility, and that's just not true.
Okay, Wick, does she acknowledge it or not that they're anti-Zionist Jews?
Yes, but she says to be anti-Zionist, you have to commit to destroying America, commit to destroying Israel, praise October 7th. The bar she sets is so astronomically high that it is unreasonable to demand that any Jewish person meet that bar. It sets an impossible standard. And
it's not impossible.
An impossible.
Do you think she'd call herself? Do you think she'd call herself like a Zionist demon?
She might, depending on her day. She's kind of crazy.
No, okay, now you're being silly. So obviously no.
I don't think I'm
obviously no, because she supports all the shit that she says you need to support to be an anti-Zionist or a principal anti-Zionist to escape the critique that she's leveling at the Jewish community and Jewish institutions. So it seems to me that she does believe that Jews are capable of doing this thing. It's a very difficult thing. I agree that she's laid out, right? And I don't agree with the destruction of America, obviously. Right? I don't agree with the ethnic cleansing of Jews from Israel, but you're mistaking bad policy positions with ethnic hatred, and it's not the same thing.
I think that you're right. Policy positions and ethnic hatred are not the same thing, but she does engage in ethnic hatred. She hates Judaism because she believes it's become corrupted and poisoned in these things. And to the extent that she hates any Jew who won't praise October 7th. That is, again,
that's pretty crazy.
And it's not an impossible standard. You know that's not an impossible standard.
That's not an impossible standard that Jews should praise October 7th? That's insane, bro. Jesus Christ.
Dude, Doobie's a piece of shit, man.
She holds that standard, so do many other Jews.
Praise the murder of other Jews. I think that's
again,
impossible.
These people typically do not believe that
happened. To be close enough for government work, okay?
Again, these people typically do not believe that the rape happened. And if you were to ask them about the murder, they would say that the Zionists within Israel are engaging in the colonial project, this racist, ethnically supremacist, genocidal project, and therefore they're not civilians. I disagree with that, but that is their position, right? So it's like saying that if you're in Germany while the Holocaust is happening and it's happening down the street from your fucking town, and you do nothing about it, and you choose to move into some Jew's house after he's kicked out, then you're in some way responsible. You're not just a civilian. If a bomb falls on you, you deserve it.
Hold on, I
disagree with that again.
People are spamming my chat. Gang, you can have criticisms, but if you spam it 20 times, I'm gonna get rid of you, okay? We don't do that. Say your piece, and then, be normal, I guess. And if you got problems with something me or Doobie is saying, if Doobie wants, we can do call-ins. But Yeah. We also got a few super chats, and I'll get through those.
Sure.
$2 from Gelatinous Rube to say merely asking your people to be better is racist. Gelatinous Rube, do you think that this is asking her people to be better? Do you think that's a fair
It is explicitly that. Yes. It is explicitly. She's very harsh. But that's
Aw.
explicitly what she's doing. She's saying that all Jews have responsibility. Her entire community, all the Jewish institutions. She wants them to do better. She wants them to cut out this evil ideology that she believes is taking over her community. That is explicitly what she's trying to do. She wants them to be better. She's critiquing the current culture, and she believes that they can be better because she lays out historical Jews who were better.
Jews responsible for the actions of Israel.
No, that's not true. That is not true. She lays out how Jewish institutions, even in the United States, support Israel and support Zionism. Right. So how they send money there, how they encourage Zionism, how they send their children off to Aliyah, for example, right, on birthright trips. She's talking about these Jewish institutions within the United States that Jews tend to just accept as normal. She believes that these are actually happening in support of a genocidal, evil project. So it's not good enough to just ignore it. What you have to do is attack it. And I think if this were like Nazis, right? If they're like Germans in the United States, whose community was by and large funding this thing, and 95% of them supported Nazism, you would say, yeah, they do have a responsibility to attack this belief in their community. It's not enough to just say, oh, I don't agree with it, I'm not involved. Right? And
She's
again,
holding them responsible for it.
I know. She's in there.
And
Like
that is
Catholics have a responsibility.
And if I held with
Catholics have a responsibility to call out rape in the
that would be
Catholic Church.
Islamophobic or anti-Arab,
Again,
I guess, right? It's the
that's
same.
funny. That's funny from you, but we're gonna get there later.
We're gonna get there. Okay.
So
$5 from $5 from Audacity to say Zionists like you, quote unquote. Sounds like that could be a new NPR sign off. $5 from It's Fishy.
Look at this,
oh, no, we didn't.
dude.
Last sentence of the Substack: replace Judaism with Palestine and Palestine with Jews, and ask Doobie if he has a problem with that. So to be clear, very last sentence is: if Judaism has to die for Palestine to live, kill it. So he's asking if Palestine has to die for Judaism to live, kill it. Would you be okay with that? Someone saying that?
I think you're misrepresenting it. So let me read it really quick.
Well, this is the super chat saying, right?
No, I understand, but can you read the actual sentence again? Like, what is actually there?
If Judaism has to die for Palestine to live, kill it.
Okay.
And so he's asking if Palestine has to die for Judaism to live, kill it. Would you be okay with that?
I think that's not what he said to do. Right? So if you were to do what he said to do, it would be if Islam has to die for Israel to live, kill it. And I think he would support.
No, he said replace Judaism with Palestine. I did that. And Palestine with Jews. Oh, so I guess Jews. I didn't do that. I said Judaism. Asked if he has a problem with it. So again, if Palestine has to die for Jews to live,
I support that. Yeah, if the options are no Palestine,
you can't ask
or Jews all
that
die,
of
I'd support
extremists.
But I think what makes me
problem with it. So
We're being
again,
rational.
If Palestine has to die for Jews to live, kill it.
Yeah, if the options are no Palestine state ever,
accept that.
or Jews all die, I'd support destroying Palestine. Yes, but I think what maybe the super chatter is just a retard. But I think what he's actually trying to say, right, is if Islam has to die for Israel to live, kill it. And I think I would agree with that. I think Islam too. I think all these Abrahamic religions in general are pretty fucked up. So I'd be totally for that.
Yeah. $5 from Testicle Johnson to say, Wick, would you rather your daughters date a Jewish guy? Or
Did the Bulwark Reddit mod get kicked off the mod team? I can't find it anywhere. Some people are saying he did, in which case, rip bozo.
Black guy? You can only pick one, but you must pick. I have no problem. If I had a daughter, and I don't, but if I had a daughter, they could date whatever they wanted. They could date a woman, they could date a man, they could date a Jew, they could date a Muslim, they could date a black guy. I don't. But as long as they're happy and as long as the person treats them. Okay, $5 from Audacity. We've all been deceived. We thought Wick had a hoodie. It's really a cleverly disguised until your Mukul combo. Okay. And then one member for 5 months needs Zionism defined and used.
That's what I want to see. Hell yeah. Oh yeah.
Again, in the article, she's very explicit. If you don't agree with destroying Israel, if you don't agree with destroying America, if you don't agree that October 7th was blessed and a miraculous event, if you don't support the glorious Al-Qasim Brigade, according to this article, you're a Zionist.
Jeez.
Yeah, I disagree with her. Obviously, she's much more extreme.
I disagree with her. It's not, bro. Wow, okay. Never mind.
Zionist than I am. She's also, I think, just based on her writing and some of her other writing, she's an anti-colonist, anti-colonialist, anti-imperialist. She hates the United States. She hates imperialism.
How much of the Trump admin's behavior do you think is actual stupidity versus intentionally neglectful behavior? Well, on Trump, everything is intentionally neglectful. By this point, anyone in his cabinet is being intentionally malicious. Like, they know that they're doing some shit, right?
Go through it. It's the Jerusalem Declaration of Anti-Semitism.
Oh, is Doobie gone?
It's a hypothetical.
No,
would I allow
you're supporting it. You're using to justify.
Have the votes for it.
What's that?
The rights that they have are small.
Not true.
Okay. What's the biggest difference?
They don't have the right to self-determination.
They can vote.
They don't have the right to self-determination. In fact,
hold on.
I think
hold on.
Rights, or maybe they probably should have these rights. When there shouldn't be a question. Why is there a question?
Arabs who are citizens of Israel have held positions of power within
That doesn't mean
Israel.
they have the same rights.
The
That doesn't mean they have the same rights.
differences between the rights that they have are small.
Not true.
Okay. What's the biggest difference?
They don't have the right to self-determination.
Arabs don't have a country? What? They don't have the self-determination. Doesn't that typically imply, when people talk about the right of self-determination of a people, don't they typically imply the right of a people to have like a country? Isn't that normally what that means? Like there are lots of states that are Arab or Muslim majority states. No, like
they can vote.
They don't have the right to self-determination. In fact,
hold on.
I think
you
supported this.
Do you think
when
that an Arab Israeli cannot vote?
That's not self-determination.
That is self-determination as
no,
we understand it.
That's not really self-determination. But what is Doobie talking about?
No, it is not. Could you think that Israel would allow for Arabs?
Because I am a minority party in my country, do I not have self-determination?
Let me ask the question.
Because I'm a minority party in my country, do I not have self-determination?
Wick, do you think that Israel would allow for Arabs to vote for Israel not to be an ethnic state anymore?
They can vote for it, but they wouldn't have the votes for it.
Hold on. If they had the votes for it, do you think that this would be allowed?
Probably not.
I mean, like, this is the whole reason why Israel tries to ensure that there aren't that many Arabs in their countries, because they think they would vote for it. No shit. Like, yeah, what do you mean?
Not for the reasons I outlined earlier.
And you support, and I think when you were on the panel the other day, right? I made the mistake of like tuning in for while Connor was watching it. I think it was Connor. Might have been Kalunda. And you were supporting like ethnic-based like immigration
all of the
laws,
Star Trek
deportation.
stuff is
If it were the
insanely
case that that the Jewish
powerful,
majority were being challenged
so-
in Israel, that is like crazy, Wick. Like so white
We'll
nationalists
save that
say all the
for
time that if there are more
endgame
black people in
stuff.
this country, look at the black crime rate. It's like up to 90%.
It's a hypothetical.
No,
that would I
you're
allow
supporting it,
people
Wick. You're using
into
to
my
justify your
country
position, Wick.
who specifically wanted to kill me or remove me
That's
from
so
my
stupid,
home?
Wick.
If I could set up
The
a
implication
system of
is
laws
crazy.
to stop that, would I? Yes.
Okay, Wick, you're doing it again. You're implying that it's reasonable to believe, that the prejudiced belief, that if we just let the Arabs in, they're going to kill all the Jews. That is not
okay,
reasonable.
I will
That
read
is
it
not
to you
reasonable.
again.
You're going
Okay?
to do the thing again where you read
I'm going to read it to you again.
specific people. Wick.
There are
You're
Jews
gonna put this
everywhere.
God.
We must attack
That's a
every
single
Jew
guy,
on
Wick.
planet Earth.
That's a single guy.
We must slaughter and
You're
kill
fucking
them
stupid.
with Allah's help. We will die while
Wick, would it be
exploding and cutting
reasonable
the
to say
necks and
that
legs of the
Jews can have
Jews.
power in
We
Israel
will
because of
lacerate
Ben
them
Gvir?
and tear them to pieces. And
Would
this
it be
isn't a
reasonable to say,
minority
oh God.
opinion. This is
Wick,
from the
You don't
government
know that.
of
Okay, again, Wick, would it be reasonable to say
Gaza.
that Jews cannot have power, cannot be trusted with power in that region because of Ben Gvir?
She says that in the article. Is
I'm
that
asking you,
anti-Semitic
Wick,
to say?
Wick, I'm asking you, would it be reasonable to say that Jews cannot have power in that region of the world because of Ben Gvir?
Would it be? Well, that's what you're saying, aren't you?
No, you're
Oh,
saying
so
that.
you're okay
saying,
with Israel having power?
No,
And the reason? Yeah.
Okay, I don't know what you think you're doing right now. You're not. You have this isn't a gotcha. You're failing right now.
Am
so
I?
you said
Okay.
you're supporting an ethno state, but also potentially ethnic-based race immigration laws and deportation laws
Because
based
of the
on
pattern of
based on
behavior in that
listen,
region,
based on the
yes.
statements of specific individuals. Wick. So if I were to
Of
look at Ben
governments.
Gvir,
Of governments.
yeah, hold on, yeah, governments. If I were to look at the actions of the Israeli government for fucking decades now, if I were to look at the actions and the words,
It would be okay to
Wait, listen,
oppose
Wick,
that.
no,
Yes.
listen, Wick,
You wouldn't
listen,
be
the actions-
anti-Semitic
the
for
actions-
opposing that,
listen,
would
Wick,
you?
The actions and the words of Israeli politicians for decades now. If I were to look at that and say, hey, well, absolutely, Jews cannot have power in this kind of stuff. We can't trust Jews to be a majority here. So we need to get the Jews out of power. You'd call me a fucking bigot, right? Because that would actually be saying that all Jews are responsible for the.
That's literally what the statements are. I don't understand. Like the South Africa literally threw in Ben Gvir and Smotrich's statements into their declaration or their accusations of genocide, and other people literally say that these, like the most far-right people in the current Netanyahu coalition, represent the average Zionist viewpoint, and that's why Jews shouldn't be allowed to run the state of Israel or whatever, why they should have to let in, 10 million Palestinians or whatever else. Those are literally the arguments that people make.
The actions of Ben Gvir. I don't think that. I don't think that you think that. But you're applying that to Palestinians. You're saying because like this guy in Hamas said this. Well, if we let Palestinians in, of course they're all going to kill the Jews.
The last time they let Palestinians in, they killed the Jews.
Wick,
The last time they let Palestinians in, October 7th, they killed the Jews.
You're ridiculous, Wick.
Hold
It was a
on,
military
that's just
operation.
true.
Hamas, Wick,
The last
Hamas-
time that they let the Palestinians into Israel,
last
they went
time
on a
Jews went to the West
spree
Bank,
and
they
killed as
killed
many
people.
as they could.
Okay, so again, this would justify, from your position, from your perspective, kicking the Jews out of Israel, kicking them out of all the West Bank territories, not allowing them in the region, because the last time they went there, they ethnically cleansed people, they committed a genocide, et cetera, et cetera.
That's what you think happened?
That's what you think, Wick. That's what you think. Because otherwise, you're applying a double standard, Wick.
I'm not
So
applying
if you're
a
going to
double
say
standard.
that it's reasonable to
We
say
can
that we
have
can't allow
a
the Palestinians
discussion.
in,
If Israel did not
because
exist in that
Hamas said
region,
this.
we can have a discussion of whether or not they should, but they do, and there are millions of Jews and Israel Arabs who live in that region, right? Who
That's
exist
so
now.
insane,
So the
dude.
question
Okay.
becomes, what do we do with reality
But the Palestinians
now?
are also
We
there,
have
Wick.
to look at the actions in the past of these individuals, these governments, right? And we have to say, well, what's the most likely case scenario if they lose their majority? Right? What is likely to happen? And I think it is just true, and you
That
can
is so
call it whatever
stupid.
you like, but
It's
it's
stupid.
just
It's
true to
racist.
say that that's what is likely to happen based on the
This is so
statements
ironic.
given by government officials
By this
and
dude, yeah.
organization officials within
By another
that
dude,
area.
yeah.
And not only that, but
Not
the
the
actions
dude.
of those in the area.
Of a tiny
I don't
minority.
support
Of a tiny
the
minority,
government
Wick.
of Israel. They have absolutely behaved in atrocious ways. And if I could snap my fingers and make everything
Atrocious
good, I would
ways.
remove them from power. Absolutely.
Wick,
and I would make
again,
sure
God.
that they would never hold power again. Right? That's what I
Wick,
would do.
Wick.
But I can't do that. So we have to ask, what is better? In what context, right, should we, or how should we behave in this context that we find
You're
ourselves
just attempting to justify your ethnic prejudice, and it's not working. Right? So again, from
You're
your
trying to
perspective-
justify
Oh my God.
anti-Semitism, and it's not
No,
working.
I'm not.
You're
No,
getting
I'm not.
destroyed. I'll
No,
just
Wick,
read you the stats.
Wick.
Like you can.
No,
all you
don't
want,
take the
but
Stratton against me.
74% of people thought you were.
Stratton. I don't give a fuck. Most
Okay,
Stratton's stupid.
exactly,
Wick.
right?
Again,
You don't give a fuck, but that's
most people are
okay.
stupid, Wick.
That's just
Most
what the
people are
stats
stupid.
say, though.
I'm
That's
sorry to
what
break
the
to you.
polls say.
Most people are
For whatever
dumb.
reason,
know
you
this.
give a fuck about stats when 90% of Jews think the existence
that's
of a
a
Jewish
specific
state,
political
that
ideology,
stat
Wick. What are you
matters.
talking
But
about?
this stat doesn't.
Wick.
Okay,
Obviously,
whatever.
obviously,
Anyway,
you
let me
can
read
look at
these.
stats.
Keep.
No,
Well, I'll
hold
keep
on.
reading
Wick,
these.
you're trying to
Okay,
dodge.
I'll keep
Wick. It's so
reading these.
embarrassing. Just hold on.
$10.
Can you tell me again?
Humiliating.
Why you think it's reasonable? Because how many Palestinians do you think participated on October 7th? Like a few thousand?
I'm not sure.
And you're going to say that because a few thousand of them did this, and because like 30 to 40,000 were in Hamas, that millions of them
Hold
Wick,
on.
cannot
Do you
be
know
allowed
what the
to go to
second
Israel?
intifada was?
Okay,
Do you know what the first intifada
I
was?
need to engage. Wick, I need to engage with this. So you're telling me again. Your position is.
Do you understand
that because,
the
please just engage with what
Israel
I'm saying.
Arab War in
Engage with what I'm saying,
1948.
please.
Do you understand?
I know you don't like Arabs. Engage with what I'm saying.
I am
Because
engaging
you're
with what
telling
you're
me-
saying.
Oh my
No, you're not.
God,
I am
dude.
absolutely.
Question,
You're
Rick.
saying
Answer my
you're
question.
trying to pick a specific
Dude,
moment in
he's
time,
so
and I'm saying
fucking
that this has happened throughout
infuriating.
the existence of the state of Israel. Arabs have continuously tried
Answer my
to kill
question.
them.
Yeah, Arabs. Would it
Yes,
be
these
okay
Arabs
if you
in
say
this
Jews did
region,
something
not
like-
all Arabs globally,
would I
and I would
say
never
Jews did
hold
this?
those who didn't try to do that responsible for those who did.
If I was talking about Israel, and I'm talking about like IDF soldiers, for example, that have raped people, would it be okay for me to say that Jews with rape Palestinians? Jews rape people?
Of course not.
People say this all the time, but
Okay, well then why are you okay with doing that to Palestinians?
I'm not. I
Or Arabs,
specifically said that's not the case.
No, you did. You said Arabs in this region. So Jews in this region have ethnically cleansed people, genocide people, raped people,
Hold on.
tortured people.
Yes, that would be okay to say because it's true. But the
Okay, so
difference
actually the Jews
is
did
you and this article, well, I'll say this article is saying that all Jews, right, everywhere, globally. That's the difference.
So,
You-
okay. What's going on at the bulwark?
All right. Gonna finish this burn to Duna. Then I'm gonna end the early stream.
Bless you.
Thank you, love.
That whirring noise is so peaceful.
What noise?
It's like the ship or the fan or something.
Oh yeah, do a she up.
No, I love it.
Oh, because we need to regain. Mm.
Well then, I'll just have to kill you quickly.
Sorry, that is my papi chulo, Albert Whisker. I'm a scat man.
Amazing.
But I love scat man. I'll be.
How dare you!
Alright, guys. That is it for the early stream. I will see y'all in just over 3.5 hours. Everybody have a beautiful time. Bye.